So I passed out watching anime and woke up on the floor of a train carriage. Classic. Head was pounding, memory was a blank, and my last clear thought was that maybe I'd finally worked myself to death, and this was the afterlife. Spoiler, it was worse than that. Some voice boomed out of nowhere telling me all survivors had awakened, and it was about to distribute the rules. I pinched my cheek just to make sure. It hurt, so apparently this was real. Great. The rules were a real barrel of laughs. Never abandon your train. Every 24 hours you pull into a new station and get 3 hours to get off if you want. Collect resources to upgrade the train. Don't leave the train before you reach a station. And the grand finale, survive. That last one really inspired confidence. Then the voice cheerfully added that the first station would arrive in 1 hour. I dragged myself up off the cold floor and took a look around. Endless wilderness streaming past the windows. The only interesting thing in the whole carriage was this oval device at the front with a glowing screen floating above it that said train control system. I walked over and touched it because that's what you do when you're stuck on a mystery train and nothing else is happening. The system introduced itself like it was a hotel concierge and gave me 4 options: conductor info, train details, chatroom, and trading platform. The chatroom caught my eye first because I'm a sucker for other people's misery. 10,000 people in there, and it was exactly as chaotic as you'd expect. One person was screaming about their sugar daddy. Another was looking for their meds. Someone was calling for their honey. One guy was genuinely thrilled because he didn't have to deal with his boss the next day. Then there was this absolute genius who figured it was all a reality show, and he was going to just walk off the train. Some people tried to warn him, and he vanished. The count dropped from 10,000 to 9,999. So yeah, that guy died. Lesson 1. Don't listen to the guy who thinks it's a reality show. I closed the chat room and checked the train details. Level 1 train. No carriages. Speed of 20 kilometers per hour. A workbench that could recycle and disassemble stuff. Everything else was level 1 too. The upgrade requirements were 100 kilos of wood, 150 of metal, and 50 mechanical parts. Which sounded like a lot when I was standing in an empty carriage with a water bottle, a loaf of bread, and a shoddy little knife. But here's what bothered me. If the arrival times were fixed at 24 hours, why did speed matter? Unless the speed wasn't about getting to the station on time. Unless it was about not getting caught by whatever was out there in the wilderness. I looked out the window at that endless empty landscape and decided I didn't want to think about that too hard. Then I opened my personal info, and that's where things got interesting. Name, Yi Qian, that's me. ID, E3, 1102. Sanity at 100. Which sounded great until I read the fine print. Below 80 you get mental fatigue. Below 50, self-doubt. Below 20, you lose reason. Below 10, madness. Below 1, question marks. Love that for me. Stamina also at 100, recovers from eating and resting. At 0, extreme lethargy. No abilities. And then, a talent called sublimation. I immediately searched the chatroom for the word talent. Nothing. Not a single mention. If everyone had a talent, someone would have been bragging about it, which meant either I was the only one or there were very few of us. The talent description said I could expend stamina or sanity to evolve or upgrade any existence. No category restrictions. No level restrictions. No condition restrictions. Any existence. I thought about how back home, broken computers would somehow run AAA games after I touched them, and regular cars would hit sports car speeds. My friends used to joke I pleased machine spirits. Turns out maybe it wasn't a joke. So I walked over to the workbench where the starter gear was sitting. Water bottle, bread, and this pathetic little dagger. I focused on the knife and thought the word sublimate. Some invisible force wrapped around the thing, and my stamina dropped from 100 to 90. The dagger in my hand went from shoddy to enchanted and sharp. Level 2. I swung it, and it whistled through the air like it actually meant business. Hard to believe it came from the same garbage knife. 10 stamina for a weapon upgrade. Not bad at all. Then I looked at the train. The description said any existence. The train was an existence. I walked over to the control panel, put my hand on the oval device, and said it again. Sublimate. This time the drain was brutal. My stamina went from 90 straight down to 30, and I collapsed on the floor. But I got to watch the train transform right in front of me, so it was worth the nap. The system announced the train was now level 2. Speed doubled to 40 kilometers per hour. Everything upgraded: chassis, frame, wheels, workbench. The materials needed for the next upgrade jumped to 200 kilos of wood, 200 metal parts, and 400 kilos of metal blocks. And then the system dropped a little surprise. I'd broken the fastest train upgrade record and got a special module card as a reward. I could tell the train still had more sublimation potential in it, unlike the knife which seemed tapped out after one upgrade. But I didn't have enough stamina to go further, not without dipping into my sanity. And after reading what that stat did, I was not eager to test it. Two things caught my attention: the upgrade options and the special module card. The options were a basic carriage blueprint for free, a water tank blueprint for 1 train coin, a burst acceleration device for 5 coins, and extending the docking time by an hour for 2 coins. I had 0 train coins, so I grabbed the free one. The carriage blueprint needed 100 kilos of wood, 150 of metal, and 60 mechanical parts, plus optional glass and fiber for modifications. That was a lot of materials I didn't have yet, and sublimating the blueprint would probably make the requirements even worse, so I filed that idea away. Then I pulled out the special module card, diamond-shaped, floating above my palm, glowing with these little blue particles. The description was basically useless. Activate it and get a special module. That's it. But I had a thought. Could I sublimate the card itself? I'd already eaten the bread and drunk the water, which somehow brought my stamina back up to 50. I figured testing it wouldn't kill me. Probably. I hit it with sublimation, and those blue particles went off like fireworks in every direction. If anyone was watching from above, they would have seen my train streaking through the wilderness, trailing blue flames like a comet. Very subtle. The drain was massive. 30 stamina and 40 sanity, 70 points total. My sanity dropped below 50, which put me in something called self-doubt state. I didn't feel any different though, just physically wrecked. The card went from special module to exclusive module. I muttered a quick prayer to every deity I could think of, just in case, and activated it. The system told me I'd obtained a unique conductor exclusive module called Crossroads of Fate. Your path will always present a second choice. Different choices lead to different destinies. Before I could really think about what that meant, the PA system crackled on and announced the train was arriving at the first station. An hour had already blown past without me noticing. Then the Crossroads of Fate kicked in and gave me 2 platform options. Platform 1, Swampland. Platform 2, Armory. The system said if I didn't pick, it would choose randomly. I went with the Armory without hesitation. My logic was simple. When your neighbors are hoarding grain, you stockpile guns and make the neighbors your grain supply. I didn't know if the other conductors would be my neighbors, but weapons felt like the safest bet right now. The space in front of the train started distorting like some beast opening its mouth to swallow us. The whistle screamed. We punched through the warped space, and everything changed. The system confirmed we were at the Armory platform. Docking time was 3 hours, and no hazards detected. Good news for once. The train slowed to a stop. I took a deep breath, gripped my sublimated dagger, and hit the door button. Outside was dead silent and pitch black, except for this huge building sitting right in front of me, about the size of a matchbox. No sun, but everything was visible anyway. Space traversal is wild. Took me less than 10 steps to reach the entrance. The door was shut tight, so I pried it open with the dagger. The smell hit me immediately. Rotten, like something had been decomposing in there for years. Inside were rows of wooden crates, and that smell was coming from them. I started prying them open with the dagger, popping off rusted iron locks. Inside the first crate, nestled in wood shavings, were 2 bolt-action rifles with 20 low-grade bullets each. 2 guns, 40 bullets, per crate. And there were a lot of crates. I started hauling everything back to the train. Trip after trip. My stamina was dropping fast, down to 15 at one point, but the excitement kept me going. My sanity had actually recovered to 70, which was a nice surprise. After several trips, I was basically running on fumes, so I stopped carrying and started exploring deeper into the armory. In one of the rooms, I found these sealed iron boxes on a shelf. They looked like military supply containers from videos I'd seen back home. The markings on them were faded, but I pried one open anyway. Inside were these compressed biscuits stacked like gold bars, giving off this faint milky smell with a slightly sour edge. Military rations. I grabbed one and stuffed it in my mouth. Tasted fine. Could have used some water with it, but I wasn't about to complain. These things were filling, but they made you thirsty, so I only ate one. Found 4 barrels total, 80 biscuits. enough to keep a grown man fed for about 2 weeks. Also found some sealed water barrels nearby, but the water smelled wrong, undrinkable. Still loaded them onto the train anyway. Might figure something out later. Spent over 2 hours combing through the armory. The deeper I went, the worse the stench got. Ended up with 42 intact rifles. Most of the others had rotted beyond use, only good for recycling at the workbench. I also grabbed whatever easy-to-carry iron and what I could find. Even if I didn't need it for myself, I could trade it. With about 30 minutes left before departure, I figured I had time for one more sweep. The train was getting crowded with supplies, and the first thing I wanted to build was that basic carriage, but I still needed more metal. I headed to the rooms I hadn't checked yet, the innermost part of the armory. These looked like they used to be living quarters. Most of them were empty junk, until the last room. I stepped in and heard a crunch under my foot. Looked down. I'd just stomped on a skeleton's leg bone. Shattered it. I apologized to the dead guy out of habit. I've never been big on being spooked by this stuff. Horror movies, funerals, swollen blue faces, none of it ever bothered me. I was about to move on when I spotted something under the skeleton. A paper document bag, covered in dust but perfectly intact. In a place where iron and wood had rotted to nothing, a paper bag was sitting there like it was brand new. That was weird enough to investigate. I pulled it out, but didn't open it right there. Jogged back to the train and ran it through the appraisal function. If it was a trap, the system should catch it. The system identified it as a level 1 treasure chest. A treasure chest. In a paper folder. I turned it over in my hands like it might bite me. Then I thanked the skeleton brother and promised him a proper burial. But then I had the same thought I'd had with everything else. Could I sublimate it? My stamina was at 30, sanity at 80. The bag was small, so the cost shouldn't be too bad. I ate another biscuit to top up and went for it. Sublimate. The numbers started dropping. Stamina went from 30 to 20. Sanity dropped from 80 all the way down to 50. The system warned me I'd entered self-doubt state again. I lay on the floor like a beached fish staring at the ceiling lamp swaying above me for a bit, then sat up. Felt fine aside from being tired. The whole thing cost me 40 points total, which was more than I expected for something that small. The folder went from level 1 to level 2 treasure chest. Didn't look any different on the outside. I figured it couldn't be sublimated further. Maybe these things only had one upgrade in them. I opened it. For train coins. A Colt M1911 pistol. And a level 2 blueprint for something called an external garbage collector. So that's how you get train coins. 4 of them from a level 2 chest. The guy in the chat who'd opened a level 1 chest only got 2 coins, so the math tracked. Level 3 should be 6. I immediately spent 3 of my 4 coins. Bought the basic water tank blueprint and 1 extra hour of docking time. That left me with 1 coin. If I could find another treasure chest at the next station, I'd have enough for that acceleration device. The Colt M1911 was a thing of beauty compared to the rifles I'd scavenged. This thing was a work of art. I loaded it with the same low-grade bullets, aimed at a wooden box outside the train, and pulled the trigger. The box exploded into splinters. The recoil stung my hand, but the power was insane. Same bullets as the rifles, but at least twice as strong. I thought about sublimating it, and immediately talked myself out of it. My stamina and sanity were both in the gutter. Wait until I recovered. I checked the 2 blueprints. The water tank stores water and keeps it from spoiling or evaporating for 10 days. Needed 10 kilos of metal and 20 mechanical parts. The garbage collector pulled trash from the platform and stored it automatically before departure. Needed 30 kilos of metal and 100 mechanical parts. There was also an optional upgrade for 300 more parts that would let it automatically recycle the trash into usable materials at the workbench. That one was tempting. I checked my total resources. 210 kilos of wood, 60 of metal, 220 mechanical parts. Enough to build both blueprints, but that would leave nothing for the carriage. Then I remembered I had that extra docking time, so I decided to rest first and think clearly. When the countdown hit the last hour, I opened the trading platform. The trading platform had an interesting rule. You couldn't list items while still at a station. You had to leave first, but you could buy from people who had already left their station. The logic was probably to stop people from transferring supplies through the platform while docked, but it had a glaring hole. It didn't restrict private trades, and it didn't stop people at a station from buying. Felt almost intentional, like the system was winking at us and saying the rules were more like suggestions. I didn't overthink it. I just started looking for metal. The listings were garbage. People had tiny amounts at insane prices, clearly not serious sellers. Everyone was just watching and waiting. I opened the chat room. Everyone had already left their first station, and the chat was going nuts. People were comparing notes. One guy got a garbage station, nothing but scrap tires, but at least he got rubber. Another got a grassland with black mud everywhere. Thought it was useless until someone pointed out black soil was great for growing vegetables. Someone posted a screenshot of a mechanical fishing rod blueprint, and the chat lost its mind. People were trying to trade mechanical parts for bread and water, which told me everything about how desperate most of these people were. Then someone asked about treasure chests, and another person had no idea what they were talking about. The one who mentioned it immediately tried to walk it back, but the damage was done. People were furious. Someone posted a screenshot of their level 1 chest contents. 2 train coins, a healing salve, and a level 1 blueprint for an aluminum insulation pad. So a level 1 chest gave 2 coins, level 2 gave 4. The pattern was clear. Medicine was valuable, coins were valuable, and most people had no idea treasure chests even existed. Then I spotted a message from someone named Li Shaosheng. He had metal to trade and wanted weapons in priority. That told me he wasn't struggling to survive. I preferred dealing with people like that over the desperate ones. I messaged him. He asked how much I needed. I said 150 kilos. The chat went quiet on his end. He was clearly not expecting that number. 150 kilos was enough for a full train upgrade. He asked what I was trading. I said a rifle with 20 bullets. He lost his mind. Said it was robbery, that even a gun wasn't worth that much. I told him he knew exactly how valuable a gun was right now and asked him what the next station might throw at him. He tried to counter at 100 kilos. I told him I'd find someone else. Gave him 10 seconds. He wanted to know why I needed so much metal. I didn't answer that. He said if I wanted future trades, he was confident he could upgrade his train to level 2 within 3 stops, and then promote my guns to other people. I almost laughed. He thought upgrading to level 2 in 3 stops made him strong. My train was already level 2 before I even reached the first station. But I didn't say any of that. I just said let's trade. I put the rifle and bullets on an empty spot in the train. Some virtual glow passed over them, and they vanished, replaced by neatly stacked metal ingots. System-mediated trade, no cheating possible. Convenient. I immediately put the basic carriage blueprint on the processing station. A translucent screen popped up showing the materials needed. I confirmed. Everything vanished from the train, and then I watched the materials reassemble themselves in midair at the back of the train, piece by piece, until a full carriage took shape. It dropped onto the tracks and slid forward until it clicked into place behind the locomotive. 10 meters long, about 1.5 times my height inside. Spacious, bright, window frames, but no glass yet. No door. You could only get in from the back of the locomotive. Empty as a shell, but it was mine. Finally, I didn't have to cram everything into the engine. And honestly, what kind of train runs with just a locomotive? This felt right. I moved all the supplies from the engine into the new carriage and checked the countdown. 40 minutes until departure. Plenty of time for one more run into the armory. I was lying on the floor of the train like a salted fish that had given up on life. Which was basically accurate because I had just spent every last drop of energy making 2 more round trips to that armory. Aside from hauling supplies back and forth, I'd also kept my promise to that skeleton guy. Dug him a grave with a shovel and stuck up an unmarked tombstone. Rest in peace, Bone Brother. You helped me find a treasure chest. The least I could do was make sure you weren't just lying in the dirt anymore. The departure countdown hit 0, and the train started moving. Slow at first. Then the same spatial distortion appeared in front of us like the world was opening its mouth to swallow us whole. We punched through and were back in the endless wasteland. Then the broadcast system crackled on and dropped some real fun news. All conductors had left the station. 9,892 people made it out safely from the first novice station. We had officially exited the newcomer safety period. And from the second station onward, there were no guarantees the train would stop somewhere safe. The chat room exploded immediately. People were upset that someone had stayed an extra hour at the first station, calling it unfair. Some genius suggested maybe the rules were fake and the train wouldn't leave if you just didn't board. Someone else told him to try it himself next time. A few people were reporting cheaters. Others were realizing the first station had actually been safe and wishing they'd gotten off to explore. One guy mentioned his first stop was a desert, and he nearly got swallowed by quicksand. Nobody realized they were talking about me, the big shot currently sitting on the floor organizing his haul. I'd ended up with 49 low-level rifles, 1,100 rounds of low-grade bullets, 150 kilos of wood, 104 of metal, and 162 mechanical parts. On top of that, I'd found a bunch of usable tools in the armory, crowbars, shovels, screwdrivers, all kinds of hardware. The broken ones went straight into the processing station for recycling. The rest went into storage as backups. My two blueprints, the water tank and the garbage collector, only needed 40 kilos of metal and 110 mechanical parts. Barely made a dent in what I had. I placed the blueprints, allocated the resources, and told the system to put the water tank inside the carriage and mount the collector on the left exterior. I walked back to the carriage, and there it was. A fixed metal water tank with wheels sitting where some of my supplies used to be. This thing could hold 1,000 kilos of water and had these non-removable separation layers to keep clean and contaminated water apart. I poured in the polluted water I'd grabbed from the armory, and it filled up about 1/10 of the contaminated side. 50 kilos. Pity there was no water purification system, but I wasn't about to cry about it. Then I posted my first message in the public chat room. Buying water, glass, fiber, blueprints, and various resources. Serious offers only. Trading firearms and food. I figured guns and food would get people's attention, and I was right. The responses came rolling in. People were losing their minds over the guns. One guy was begging for a free one. Another was calling me shameless for even having them. Someone complained their first station only had chicken feathers. A college girl was offering to do anything if I'd just give her some food. Classic. I ignored all of that and went to check the garbage collector. It was this black iron box hanging from the ceiling that wouldn't actually do anything until we hit the second station. Only after that was done did I finally open my private messages. And they were flooded. Zhaoke wanted to be my lackey in exchange for a gun. Lin Xiaopeng was trying to guilt-trip me into handing over firearms for equitable distribution to those in need. That guy was a piece of work. Shangguan Yingxue had 20 kilos of lake water and no container. Cohen Jones had 16 kilos of glass and wanted to know if that was enough for a gun. Foreigners. I noticed some distinctly non-Chinese names, and it hit me. Nothing in this train survival world said it was only pulling people from one country. For all I knew, we might not even be from the same world. I blocked the moral blackmailers and the freeloaders without a second thought, then started filtering through the real trading partners. Shangguan Yingxue caught my attention. 20 kilos of lake water was worth talking about. I messaged her back and pointed out that lake water wasn't necessarily drinkable. Unfiltered, it could kill her. If she wanted to trade, she needed to show more sincerity. She asked how much I wanted. I said 50 kilos. Compared to metal, water was way more valuable, even lake water. Not just for staying alive, but because even if someone's first station had a freshwater lake, most people wouldn't have containers to store it in. My actual minimum was 30 kilos for one gun, but I was just one person. No matter how many guns I had, turning them into resources was more practical. She agreed immediately. Part of me wondered if I'd quoted too low, but I didn't regret it. Then she said she needed more bullets and food. This woman was sitting on a lake apparently. Where was she getting containers to store all that water? Before the 3-hour stop ended, the trading platform and chat room were both closed. So she either found containers or built them with blueprints. I didn't ask. Everyone had their secrets. I told her bullets were cheaper, 5 low-grade bullets per kilo of water, no container needed from her. Food was military compressed biscuits, 1 biscuit for 5 kilos of water. She did the math and wanted 100 low-grade bullets and 3 biscuits. Combined with the previous rifle and 20 bullets, that came to 85 kilos of lake water total. She asked if I had enough containers and offered to sell me some. I said no need, let's just trade. The trading point appeared above the water tank. The firearms and bullets vanished and 85 kilos of water materialized out of thin air, pouring straight into the reservoir. Including my earlier trades, I now had 135 kilos of water. I stared at that clear water and had to resist the urge to drink it raw. Looked clean, sure, but anyone with half a brain knew unfiltered, unboiled lake water was a one-way ticket to Dysentery City. I told her it was a pleasure doing business and to hit me up for future trades. She didn't reply, just silently sent me a friend request. I accepted without hesitation. Compared to that pretentiously Xiaosheng, I preferred trading with someone like Shang Wanningshua. She talked less hassle. After wrapping up with her, I sold a bunch more rifles and ammo to other people. Picked up fiber and glass for reinforcing the carriage too. After the upgrade, actual windows appeared in the frames. No more drafty compartment. Bountiful harvest. After the final trade, I had 21 rifles left. I hadn't set fixed prices, just sold whenever offers seemed reasonable. It wasn't bad business, but I knew these low-level items would only depreciate. Once most people upgraded their trains and unlocked new options, who knew what better weapon blueprints might show up? Hoarding would be stupid. Finally done. I took out a traded loaf of bread and some mineral water and ate my first proper dinner in this world. Then I went back to the front cabin, found a relatively warm spot, and curled up. Survival concerns could wait. I was exhausted, and the only thing on my mind was sleep. The train rumbled across the wasteland. I watched that huge moon hanging outside the window, and I passed out. Thump, 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 thump. I woke up shivering so hard my teeth were clicking. The cold had me rubbing my eyes and stretching a neck that felt like it had been replaced with rusted steel. I looked outside. Same wasteland, same unsettling horizon, same gigantic moon casting cold light over everything. My stamina was at 87, mental energy at 91. I checked the time. 3:37 in the morning. I sighed and opened the chat room. Messages were still scrolling like nobody had slept. Which was fair, because apparently nobody slept as well as I had. Couldn't sleep now anyway, so I got up, brushed off the dust, and stood up. With my stamina and mental energy partially restored, it was time for more sublimation. First thing on the list, the Colt M1911. That sleek black pistol that looked like a work of art. How powerful would it get after sublimation? The next stop wouldn't be safe. Only serious weapons would give me peace of mind. I said the word and felt the stamina drain out of me. The pitch-black pistol developed these faint patterns along its frame and grew slightly larger, now needing some effort to hold one-handed. The system called it a Blacklight Enchanted Pistol, Level 3. It could consume stamina to convert regular bullets into armor-piercing rounds. My stamina dropped to 47, mental energy to 90. 40 points consumed, which was acceptable. I stacked some metal scraps as a makeshift target, channeled stamina into the pistol, and pulled the trigger. The blast was deafening. Searing muzzle flash. An armor-piercing round tore through the air and punched a perfect hole clean through the target. I was grinning like an idiot. This thing was insane. The recoil was heavy, but it was still just a pistol. 2 stamina per armor-piercing round. Acceptable. I turned the pistol in my hands and noticed it could be sublimated further. I hesitated, then decided against it. The current recoil was barely manageable. If both the power and the kick went up any further, I'd be losing control of my own arm. Still had enough stamina and mental energy for more, so I walked into the first carriage and touched the wall. Sublimate. To my surprise, upgrading the carriage barely cost anything. Just stamina, no mental energy drain. My stamina dropped to 25, and the system announced I now had a cozy train carriage, level 2. The special feature was enchanted warmth, which kept the interior at a constant 22 degrees Celsius, no matter what it was like outside. No more waking up freezing. The carriage couldn't be sublimated further like the locomotive, but I was thoroughly satisfied. It was still early, so I grabbed a traded blanket, spread it on the floor of that nice warm carriage, and went back to sleep. Substantial stamina loss turned out to be the best insomnia cure ever. I wasn't sublimating anything else that day. Tomorrow was the second stop. Time to conserve and wait. That night, nobody slept more soundly than me. Countless people were lying awake, kept up by the roaring train and the biting cold wind of the wasteland. Their stamina and mental energy weren't recovering, they were getting worse. I woke up at 10:27, stretched my stiff body, and tried to figure out the timing. I'd entered the first station at 1 in the afternoon yesterday, so today's entry should also be around 1 in the afternoon. But since I'd left an hour later than everyone else, would my entry time be delayed too? I left the carriage and headed back to the train head. Temperature dropped the second I stepped out of that warm zone. My control panel was already flooded with private messages. With the second station approaching and the broadcast having warned that safety wasn't guaranteed, firearms were getting more valuable by the minute. Then I saw a message from someone named Luzhou. He was asking if blueprints could be used for trading. Interesting. Blueprints were basically unlimited manufacturing. Owning one was like having a lathe that could pump out items as long as you had materials. Nobody was stupid enough to trade blueprints for guns, not when the blueprint was worth more long-term. This Lujo was the first person to even bring it up. I asked what blueprint he had. His ID was E39802. He sent a screenshot almost immediately. Level 1 train seat blueprint. Needed 5 kilos of metal, 3 of wood, 3 of plastic, and 1 of fiber. A chair. I was surprised. Not exactly precious, not exactly worthless. Nobody would spend resources buying a seat right now. But it was still a blueprint, something that could be manufactured over and over. Back in my old world, guns and bullets were definitely worth more. But a low-level firearm that would depreciate versus a blueprint that could produce endlessly? The gap was only shrinking. At least that's how I saw it. I told him trade was possible, but I could only provide 10 bullets. The blueprint wasn't that great. If he needed more, he could buy them with other resources. The moment he saw my reply, his face lit up. He said 10 bullets were fine and thanked me like I'd just saved his life. Then he said something that caught me off guard. He told me I had no idea how important this gun was to him. Without it, he would definitely die at the next station. Definitely. That was weird. Definitely die? The second station wasn't safe, sure, but it wasn't certain death territory, was it? Why was he so sure? Did he have a talent? I looked at the trade prompt and decided not to refuse. I didn't care what secrets other people were hiding. Everyone had them. Trade went through. I took the blueprint straight to the processing station and manufactured it. A black chair appeared in front of me. I sat down, and it felt like returning to civilization. I never thought a chair could be this important. I kept selling guns until the countdown to the second station hit the last hour. Managed to move 15 rifles and 300 bullets. The rest, I decided to hold on to. The second station was unsafe, so I might need them. My stamina was at 98, mental energy at 100. Fully restored. I picked up one of the low-level marksman rifles and sublimated it. The energy drain was familiar but lighter than the pistol. Stamina dropped to 85. 13 points consumed, and the potential was already exhausted. Couldn't go further. The rifle was now covered in this gilded color, upgraded from low level to exquisite. Level 2. The bullets it fired had more than double the power. Not as strong as my sublimated blacklight pistol, but close enough. The countdown kept ticking down, and the chatroom atmosphere got heavier. Fewer people were talking. I tidied my equipment and waited quietly. In the last 30 minutes before entering the station, that familiar light screen appeared. Crossroads of Fate triggered. 2 options. Platform 1, Goblin Camp, described as a Level 2 hunting platform. Platform 2, White Forest, a Level 3 collection platform. This was different from the first time. Now the module showed station levels and special suffixes. Hunting and collecting. Level 2 and Level 3. I figured upgrading my train must have unlocked higher level stations. The armory back at the first stop was probably Level 1, since everything inside was Level 1 gear. I went with White Forest. A collection platform. Judging by the name, it shouldn't be too dangerous. The system confirmed my selection and told me to sit tight. The train's next stop was the White Forest. 5 minutes later, same as before, spatial fluctuations swallowed the train. A grayish-white light covered everything outside. I looked out the window and saw a forest, but every single tree had gray-white trunks and gray-white leaves. The system confirmed we were at the White Forest platform. Docking time was 4 hours. Good luck. And the station was rated low risk. I took a deep breath, tucked the pistol at my waist, slung the rifle on my back, put on my backpack with food and mineral water, and stood by the door. Pressed the open button. The second I stepped outside, the whole world went dead silent. Every tree in every direction was gray and white. If a timid person showed up here, they probably wouldn't have the nerve to move. It was too quiet. So quiet you could hear your own heartbeat. Combined with that low-risk warning, everything said this place wasn't going to be an easy looting run like the armory. But I didn't regret the choice. I'd made my peace with the danger before I even picked it. That said, this danger warning didn't seem to be something everyone could see. I'd been lurking in the chat room all day, and nobody had mentioned it. People who had nothing to talk about wouldn't forget to bring up something like that. So this had to be a specific ability of the Crossroads of Fate module. I couldn't tell what could be collected here. Maybe just wood? It didn't look any different from a regular forest. Then I spotted what looked like a path and started walking deeper into the forest, staying alert the whole way. Nothing happened, which was a nice change of pace. At the end of the path, deep in that gray-white forest, I found trees bearing white fruits. These had to be the collection items for this station. I cut one down with the dagger, picked it up, and brought it close to my nose. Sweet but slightly bitter aroma. Nothing like any fruit from my old world. I swallowed hard. It smelled incredible. This insane urge to just devour the fruit right there came over me. I was about to take a bite when a sudden sense of danger snapped me back, and I threw the fruit away instantly. Cold sweat was pouring off me. My mental energy had been full just moments ago, and it had crashed hard in seconds. I wasn't short on food or water, so why had I been so desperate to eat a potentially poisonous fruit? And the rate of mental energy depletion was terrifying, faster than sublimation. These fruits were dangerous. I stepped back and stared at those pale fruits. Annoying that the appraisal function only worked on the train. But these were clearly the collection items for this station. I suspected the danger of this whole place was the fruits themselves. Maybe it was the scent that caused the hallucination. If I didn't smell it, maybe I'd be fine. I cut a strip of cloth from my clothes, tied it over my nose and mouth as a makeshift mask, and started harvesting anyway. Old saying, men die for wealth, birds die for food. Even facing potentially lethal hallucinogenic fruit, I couldn't bring myself to walk away. The forest was dead silent except for me, the one crazy farmer picking his weird crop. Back on the train, I ran one through the appraisal system. White forest fruit, level 3. Unique to this forest. Released a hallucinogenic aroma when unprocessed that drained mental energy. Eating it would permanently reduce maximum mental energy. But when processed, it rapidly restored mental energy and slightly increased hallucination resistance. Processing method was simple, soak in cold water for 5 minutes. So that was the deal. No wonder I wanted to eat it so badly. The scent was the trap. I dumped all the fruits into water, waited 5 minutes, and watched them turn from gray-white to pure white. Couldn't resist taking a bite. The sweet juice exploded in my mouth. Delicious. I'd never tasted anything like it. Compared to these fruits, bread and biscuits tasted like cardboard. Hard to believe something this good grew in such a depressing-looking forest. I emptied my backpack of everything else and made more trips. Each round took about 20 minutes. Filling the bag completely took about 30. With only 4 hours of docking time, I could make 4 trips max. No time to waste. As I was heading out again, I glanced back at the carriage and noticed the garbage collector was running. A little cube-shaped robot, half the height of my calf, was shuttling back and forth between the white forest and the train, bringing back leaves and whatever else it found. So that was what trash recycling looked like. I thought it was pretty useless when I built it, but there it was, working away. I spent the rest of the time harvesting fruit. By the time the countdown was getting low, I'd gathered over 100 pounds of white forest fruits. Didn't want to risk missing the train out of greed, so I called it quits. I checked my supplies. Besides the fruits, I had 79 compressed biscuits and 21 bottles of purified water. Good enough. I leaned back in my new chair, munching on fruit, and opened the chat room. The first thing I saw was the conductor count. 8721 out of 10,000. Over 1,000 people had permanently disappeared. And this was only the second station. The number was still dropping. The chat was a mess. People begging for medicine after drinking unboiled lake water. Someone got their lung punctured by a wild bull and was telling everyone to tell his wife he went down fighting. Another guy was crying about his wounds and begging for medicine. People were starving. Someone's first stop was a broken-down house full of trash, and the second was a stinking mud pond. Another got chased by wild boars that nearly flipped his train. Someone was selling vulture leg meat for drinking water. A few people were too scared to get off at any station, which meant they were just sitting there waiting to run out of food and water. Not everyone was like me, upgrading from the start and having the crossroads of fate to pick safer stations. Most people were just surviving however they could. I lurked in the chat until my stop countdown was almost over, then remembered the garbage collector was still running. For hours of operation, I figured if that little machine managed to gather 10 kilos of wood from the white forest, I'd be impressed. Wasn't holding out much hope. I checked the recycling station and froze. Among the actual garbage, there was a pale gray wooden box that stood out from everything else. A treasure chest, and it was level 3. I rubbed my eyes and looked again. Level 3 treasure chest. I'd thought about the possibility of finding chests in the White Forest, but the area was too vast, and I didn't dare go deep, afraid of getting lost and never making it back to the train. I'd given up on the idea completely. And here this little garbage-collecting robot I'd dismissed as useless had brought one back from the forest. I looked at that blocky little thing with completely new respect and patted its square head. Worth every resource I spent building it. If that robot had facial expressions, it was probably giving me a look of pure contempt right now, especially after how I'd talked about it just moments ago. Humans really were the most fickle creatures. I held back the urge to open it right away. A level 3 chest sublimated would become level 4. That meant at least 8 train coins plus other level 4 items. My stamina was at 45, mental energy at 92. I went for it. Sublimate. The stamina drained first, then the mental energy. When the invisible force faded, the wooden box looked exactly the same on the outside. Level 4 treasure chest. Stamina dropped to 20, mental energy to 62. I was physically wrecked, but mentally buzzing. I cracked it open. 8 train coins. An external alert system, level 4. White forest fruit seeds. And a train gray-white paint scheme. A level 4 chest. I could only imagine how jealous everyone in the chat would be if they knew. But I had no intention of showing off. Bragging just bred jealousy. I needed to focus on my own path. This one couldn't be sublimated further though. Not because it lacked potential, but because my combined stamina and mental energy weren't enough for the upgrade cost. Level 4 was clearly a major threshold. The alert tower system could be installed on top of any carriage and could equip any ranged weapon. Once installed, it provided automated defense that attacked hostile threats within a 100-meter visible range. It could even penetrate illusions, disguises, and invisibility. Damaged components could be repaired with mechanical parts. Now that was quality loot. Exactly what you'd expect from a level 4 chest. I installed it on top of the locomotive. From the outside, it just looked like a round layered object. When activated, a red orb inside would rotate 360 degrees. I still had 6 rifles. I kept the sublimated one for myself and equipped the other 5 to the tower. Then I looked at the fruit seeds. Level 3 plant. Required special gray-white soil from the White Forest to cultivate. 10 days to sprout. 10 days to grow. 10 days to mature. Half a kilo of water per day. At half a kilo of fresh water per seed. Most people couldn't afford to grow these. But I was one of the privileged few. The 30-day growth cycle was long, but worth it. The seeds also reminded me that the White Forest soil itself was a special resource. I filled several wooden crates with the gray-white soil in the final minutes before departure, then shut down the recycling station. Patted the little robot's head and tossed all the forest garbage into the workbench for processing. The haul was modest, but it yielded 12 kilos of wood plus some leaves and stones. The leaves could produce white pigment, and so could the stones. Everything in this forest was white-related. I patted the robot again. Good job, little guy. After I rested, you were next for sublimation. The countdown ended and the train started moving. I felt the slight push against my chair and watched through the window as the White Forest receded into nothingness, replaced once more by the endless wasteland. Back to the routine. I stretched out in my chair and opened the chat interface. My private messages were blinking. Someone had contacted me. Private messages only showed notifications after adding each other as friends, so there was only one possible sender. Shangwaning Shua. She was asking if I still needed water. I tapped out a reply telling her what I needed, and to say up front, she had no firearms left to trade. Then I waited, and waited. Was about to close the chat when she finally responded. Said sorry, she'd been taking a bath. A bath. I glanced over at my water storage tank and did some mental math. Just how much water did this woman have to be wasting it on baths? I wasn't that extravagant, and I had way more than her. She listed what she wanted. 32 kilos of wood, 50 of metal, and 40 mechanical parts. Said I should have those things. I raised an eyebrow and asked why she was so sure I had them. And even if I did, why wouldn't I use them to upgrade my own train? She said she hated trouble. She'd already gathered some materials on her own, but it took too much time and dealing with too many people, which she despised. As for why me, she'd calculated I was probably the only one who could provide different materials in bulk right now. I'd sold over 20 rifles, and aside from food and water, everything I'd traded for was various materials. She was right, but not entirely, because I hadn't sold just 20-some rifles. It was double that, over 40, and I did have the resources she wanted. But trading just for water didn't interest me. My water reserves were fine for now, and I'd even figured out a way to make undrinkable water drinkable. Pick that one up from the chat room. Rub sticks together, start a fire, boil the water. Never mind the taste. Boiled water at least wouldn't kill you with diarrhea. She went quiet for a while, then sent a screenshot. A water purification device, level 1, could filter and purify wastewater at a rate of 1 kilo per hour. I rubbed my eyes. A water purification device. Something like that actually existed. No wonder this woman could afford to bathe so lavishly. She must have gotten this at the first station. Even bathwater could be filtered and recycled. And she probably had more than one. No, she must have the blueprint for it. Otherwise, why would she be willing to trade the device itself? I asked if she had the blueprint. She said the device should be enough to exchange for the resources she needed, neither confirming nor denying. I suppressed my surprise. However precious that blueprint was, it belonged to someone else. I'd been lucky enough already, no need to envy others. I said, all right, we could trade. We completed the transaction, and I got the purification device. It fit perfectly between the wastewater and clean water tanks. Once activated, purified water automatically flowed into the clean side for storage. Saved me a lot of hassle. Then I did what I do best. Sublimation. Small level 1 items like this barely cost anything. The device went from premium level 2. Purification rate tripled to 3 kilos per hour, and it could now purify non-fresh water like seawater too. I was grinning. That was a game changer. On impulse, I messaged her back and asked if she could upgrade her train yet, and what changes happened after upgrading. I was curious what upgrade options other people got. Were they the same as mine? She hesitated, then agreed. Another screenshot came through. Her level 2 upgrade options. Basic carriage blueprint for free, a welding tool set for 2 coins, a wooden bed blueprint for 1 coin, and extending stop time by 1 hour for 2 coins. Options 1 and 4 were identical to mine. The other 2 were different. So the carriage blueprint and extended stop time were fixed, while the remaining 2 were random and varied in quality. Her random options were noticeably weaker than what I'd gotten. Then she asked if I had any train coins. I said no. She asked if I still wanted to buy water. My mouth twitched. Before, I might have bought some as backup. But now, knowing she was bathing and recycling that water, buying from her meant buying her bath water. I said no. She said all right then. Chat ended. I understood what she was doing. She wanted to buy train coins from me to purchase upgrade options. But I barely had enough myself. How could I spare any for trade? Besides, I still had one option left unselected from my own upgrade. The train burst acceleration device blueprint for 5 train coins. For most people, accumulating 5 train coins would take several stations. After just 2 stations, I had enough to buy every available option. I spent 5 coins on the blueprint. For coins remaining, the acceleration device needed 50 kilos of metal and 200 mechanical parts to build. Once constructed, it could produce acceleration bullets that tripled train speed for 10 minutes. Expensive, but worthy of a 5-coin blueprint. And I could afford the materials. After the second station, the trading platform had diversified. What most people desperately needed was food and water, which I had in stock. Those compressed biscuits I'd been carrying around weren't worthless after all. I spent 7 biscuits and a lot of haggling to gather enough mechanical parts from other people. Turns out trading was a pain. No wonder Shang Waningshua hated it. Constantly adjusting prices back and forth for scraps was a waste of time. I fed the resources into the processing station and the acceleration device came together. Metal and machinery fused into this complex mechanical contraption. Could only be installed on the main train body, placed near the control system for automatic installation. It produced acceleration bullets, maximum 3 uses per day. Each bullet cost 1 kilo of metal, 20 mechanical parts, and 1 train coin to produce. The bullets themselves required train coins too. Of course they did. I sublimated it anyway. 30 stamina and 40 spirit later, the device transformed into a red triple-speed train acceleration device. 5 uses per day instead of 3, same triple speed for 10 minutes. Potential was exhausted after that, couldn't go further. I placed it by the control system, a silvery light enveloped it, and a black hole appeared in the control panel. The bullet loading port. I spent 2 more train coins to produce 2 acceleration bullets. Looking at those silvery bullets the size of a baby's arm, I winced at the cost. Put away my last 2 coins and considered testing the speed. Decided against it. I wasn't that reckless yet. Everything settled, time to rest. I did wonder about the low spirit side effects though. Self-doubt, mental fatigue, all that. I'd never actually felt anything. Were those just empty threats? After a full night's sleep in my warm climate-controlled carriage, I woke up fully restored. Stamina and spirit both at 100. Washed my face, humming to myself. Walked to the end of the carriage where I'd planted the white forest fruit seed in the ashen soil. Dug it up, checked it. Looked unchanged. I sublimated it. Stamina dropped to 70 and the seed became a blessed white forest fruit seed. 3 days to sprout, 3 days to grow, 3 days to mature. After maturation, it could produce 1 blessed white forest fruit daily. It actually worked, and the fruit quality got upgraded too. The seed's potential was tapped out for now, but I could try again after the first harvest. After planting, burying, and watering, I was heading back for breakfast when I passed the garbage recycling device. I'd promised to sublimate it. I crouched down, knocked on its metal head, and went for it. Used stamina like usual, but the energy just disappeared without any effect. Sublimation failed. That was a first. I tried again, this time using spirit instead. Spirit dropped from 100 to 60, and the familiar radiance appeared. The small robot transformed into a GT-1, an automatic treasure hunting robot. Upon arriving at stations, it would automatically leave the train to locate treasure chests. Any chests it couldn't reach would be mapped for me to retrieve. Could be repaired with mechanical parts when damaged. Each use consumed 1 train coin. It would forcibly return to the collection station before each stop ended. Camera-like eyes popped out of the matchbox body, rotating 360 degrees before locking onto my face. It confirmed my identity as conductor ID E3 1102 Ichien. Then it asked me to name the unit. Default would be GT1 if I didn't. I thought of an old world movie character and said Wall-E, naming complete. It entered sleep mode and told me to spend 1 train coin to activate it upon station arrival. More train coins. Acceleration bullets needed them, now the robot too. Next train upgrade would require coins for options, and who knew what else would demand them. I was heading for financial trouble. Then it hit me. At this stage, most people probably had no idea what train coins were actually worth. I jogged back to the control system and searched the chat room for train coins. The results were exactly what I expected. People asking what coins were for, guessing they were currency for buying things at stations. Some had never even seen a treasure chest. Others found chests, but got no food from them. Nobody understood the real value. I listed an offer on the trading platform. 1 compressed biscuit plus 1 water bottle for 1 train coin. Then I ignored it. If someone bid, great. If not, no loss. At 12:30 p.m., right on schedule, the crossroads of fate kicked in. 2 options this time. Station 1, Doomsday Town, a Level 2 mission station. Station 2, Goblin Village, a Level 2 hunting station. A mission station. That was new. Compared to goblin slaying, which promised more trouble than reward, the mission station suited me better. I selected Doomsday Town. The train accelerated, space ahead dissolved, and when the countdown hit 0, everything transformed. The system confirmed we were at Doomsday Town. Docking time was 4 hours. Good luck. Current station rated as dangerous. The train stopped, and I looked out the window. This place wasn't dark like the previous stations. The sun was actually out, shining bright over everything. Streets covered in deep red stains, rows of abandoned cars blocking the way. Doomsday Town. The name was well earned. I activated Wall-E, dropping a train coin into its slot with a wince. Watched it wobble away through the recycling chute, and seriously wondered if the monsters out there might snatch it up as a toy. Then I asked about the mission. Through the window, I spotted a corpse clutching a backpack. Inside that backpack, a piece of parchment was flapping in the wind. Something was written on it, but it was too far to read. I did a final equipment check at the train door. Food, water, the sublimated rifle on my back, the blacklight pistol and dagger at my waist, and the advanced ceramic plate bulletproof vest from the last treasure chest. I'd sublimated that vest too, turning it from a bulky bucket-like armor into something you could actually wear without losing any protection. Fully armed, I pressed the button. The doors opened, I stepped out, and flicked the doors shut behind me. Only the conductor could open them, so nothing was sneaking in. A wave of scorching heat hit me. The air was thick with this strange stench, like rotten salted fish mixed with long decayed bread. I walked over to the corpse and used the rifle barrel to nudge open the backpack. The parchment inside said the writer was a great courier for something called Run Company. They delivered supplies in this post-apocalyptic world, and only they could move freely. But he was probably going to die. The guy had a dark sense of humor, I'll give him that. The message asked whoever found it to deliver the items in the backpack to a silverware shop in the southeast corner of town. Show the Run badge, and the reward would be mine. Then he added that I didn't have to deliver it if I didn't want to. Whatever. He was dying anyway. Then immediately followed up with please deliver it. The reward was great. Run Company was the best in the wasteland. Classic guilt trip from a dead guy. I opened the backpack fully. Inside, apart from the parchment, was a cake sealed in a transparent box, preserved remarkably well. For characters written on it in jam. Happy birthday. A birthday cake. The courier had been dead a long time judging by the decay. The birthday would never be celebrated, but the cake could still be eaten. I found a mechanical-looking badge made of gears and metal, depicting a courier running. On the back, a big Run symbol, and a map of the town with a red dot marking the destination. I stashed the cake and badge and headed out using the map. The road was littered with skeletons. Dark red bloodstains everywhere telling stories I didn't want to hear. Then I saw a hyena feeding on a corpse. First living creature I'd seen in this whole survival world besides myself. Wait, was it really alive? The thing turned its head toward me, and I got a good look. Skull was rotten, heart exposed. This was a zombie dog. It let out this weird growl and charged. I told myself to stay calm, raised the pistol, and pulled the trigger. Bang, 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 bang. I wasn't a sharpshooter. Only one bullet actually hit, but the power was enough to blow the thing to pieces. Not ideal. The gunfire was loud enough to echo through the entire town. Every monster around was probably heading this way. I took a detour and made it to the silverware shop. Surprisingly, no monsters nearby. Strange. The shop door was tightly closed. I was debating whether to pry it open when the metal shutter slid up a crack. I immediately raised my rifle and aimed at the gap. A hoarse voice yelled, "Don't shoot." He was human, not a zombie. I asked if he was the owner. Couldn't see clearly inside, so I just pulled out the badge and said I was a courier for Run Company taking over the delivery from the dead guy. Out here, identity was whatever you claimed it was. Being a courier seemed to earn respect in this wasteland. The shutter rose a bit more, and I saw this scruffy, bearded man in his 40s. He said he knew I was a courier, said the only ones brave enough to be outside these days were couriers, lunatics, and monsters. Told me to come in. I didn't move, kept the rifle aimed at his head, and pulled out the sealed cake. Said forget coming in. Here's the stuff. Where's the reward? He stared at the cake for a moment and said what a pity, if only I'd come a little earlier. Then he went to get the reward. A box was extended from under the shutter. Inside, 3 train coins. Train coins. In this world, could it be that train coins were the universal currency across all station worlds? Otherwise, it was hard to explain why the natives here had them. Just as I was about to collect them, the man inside suddenly grabbed the barrel of my rifle. The murderous intent was unmistakable. I felt the pulling force and pulled the trigger without hesitation. Bang! A severed hand flew through the air, and the rolling shutter burst open. Now I could see clearly. The man behind the door had swollen grotesquely. Only his human face and the arm I'd just shot off looked remotely like his original form. He was screaming about how it was too late. Why didn't I come sooner? His daughter just wanted a cake. Why did we useless couriers take so long? Die. I took a deep breath and kept firing. 3 consecutive hits. My marksmanship was terrible, but at this range against a target that big, it was hard to miss. Even the upgraded rifle couldn't penetrate the monster's hardened body, though. One punch to my chest sent me flying. My stomach felt like it had been turned inside out. If not for the enhanced bulletproof vest absorbing most of the impact, that hit could have knocked me out cold. The monster shrieked and charged again. I fired. It laughed and said my bullets didn't scare it. I kept shooting. Then I told it to look down. Its body was riddled with holes. It said impossible. I blew on the smoking barrel, clutched my stomach, and stood up. The blacklight enchanted pistol in my hand was glowing with this eerie light. Armor-piercing rounds. I walked up to it, pressed the muzzle against its forehead, and pulled the trigger. Phew. No wonder there were no other monsters around. This was the big guy's territory. I caught my breath, stepped over the corpse, and picked up the overturned cake. Shook my head. What a waste. Stored it along with the 3 train coins from the floor. I opened the rolling shutter fully. The inside was unexpectedly clean. It really was a silverware shop. Silver crossbow bolts, spearheads, and even crosses scattered about. On a shelf, I found a diary. March 1st, 10 days until his daughter's birthday. He'd found 3 coins in a broken locomotive outside town. The elders said these coins could make run company couriers bring unimaginable delicacies. He'd buy his daughter a cake. Eating it would surely cure her illness. After all, it was something beyond their imagination. March 5th, daughter's condition worsening. She just wanted a cake. Great courier, please hurry. March 9th, his daughter was so excited for tomorrow's cake. But courier, where are you? March 11th, his daughter died without tasting that cake. Before dying, she asked what cake tasted like. He told her sweet. What does sweet taste like? He didn't know either. She was gone. He buried her in the backyard so she wouldn't turn into one of those zombie monsters. March 15th. Why wouldn't the courier come? He really wanted to meet the courier. If only there was cake. The diary ended there. The remaining pages were torn violently with blood-red stains. After March 15th, this man had completely lost his mind and become that monster. I walked to the back door and found a tombstone in the yard. I placed the cake in front of it. That counted as completing the mission, right? The reward was the 3 train coins in my hand. This station seemed done. But one thing was nagging at me. A broken locomotive outside town. Could that belong to another conductor like me? Or had some conductor come to this station before and never left? Were we not the first survivors? These questions were spinning in my head, but I didn't have time to chase them. I also found a crossbow in the corner and collected it with the bolts. The silver stuff might be for fighting vampires, which sounded about right for a doomsday town. Everything was heavy. I took one last look at the monster's corpse and started heading back. The return trip took longer than getting there. The town had more monsters than I expected. Without that extra hour from the upgrade, I might have had to fight through hordes. Zombie dogs, zombie chickens, zombie cats. But no humanoid zombies. Wally hadn't returned yet, but I wasn't in a hurry. I inventoried the station's gains. Mithril crossbow bolts, level 2, triple damage against vampires. Mithril cross, level 2, with a description that just said pray, it might work. Mithril ceremonial sword, level 2, inflicted irreversible damage on vampires. I recycled the miscellaneous stuff at the processing station and got 10 kilos of mithril out of it. Back in my old world, that would have made me moderately wealthy. I picked up the crossbow and sublimated it. Stamina dropped to 55, and it became a sanctified mithril cross, level 3. Emitted holy light and darkness and dealt massive damage to vampires, evil spirits, and demons. As for the bolts and the sword, if I couldn't shoot straight with a pistol, a crossbow would be worse. In close combat with vampires, I knew my limits. I hung the cross at the train's front and checked the trading platform. Someone had actually accepted my biscuit and water for train coin offer. I was munching on a fruit and admiring my shiny coins when I opened the chat. Other conductors had left their stations. The online count was 7825 out of 10,000. Another 1,000 gone permanently at the 3rd station. The chat was the usual mix of horror and flexing. Someone's 3rd station was a cave full of spiders, and they didn't even dare get off. Another got lucky with just a few wild dogs and used a gun bought from some expert to fight through and get some meat. People were calling me Expert Yi and asking why I hadn't said anything. Hadn't I reached level 2 yet? Then some guy was bragging about his big brother Li Shaoxing being about to upgrade to level 2. Li Shaoxing. I remembered him saying he'd upgrade within 3 stops. This was exactly the 3rd station. Had he still not done it? Then Li Shaoxing posted a message saying he'd completed his train upgrade. He was now the 1st, and he was inviting people with train coins to join his alliance. Early joiners would get food and water from him. The chat exploded. People begging to join. Someone had used their only train coin on food and water and was trying to trade it back. Others had no idea what train coins even were. I ignored all that and focused on his screenshot. Specifically the upgrade options. Basic carriage blueprint for free, a wooden automatic fishing rod blueprint for 1 coin, a 1-day minimal survival rations recipe for 2 coins, and extending stop time by 1 hour for 2 coins. Just as I expected, options 1 and 4 were identical to mine. completely certain of the pattern now. A fishing rod and survival rations. The rations were useless to me, but the fishing rod was worth noting. What if I ended up at a station where I could fish? Without a rod, I'd just be staring helplessly. But no rush. With the crossroads of fate, I could always check station info and make choices half an hour before anyone else. It was time to sublimate the train again. The reason I hadn't done it earlier was I didn't have enough train coins for the upgrade options. After building the acceleration device, making 2 bullets, and activating Wall E, I'd been down to 1 coin. The 3 from the silverware shop brought me to 4. If Wally could find this station's treasure chest, there might be even more. Just as I was about to try, I heard the sound of treads outside. Wall-E came wobbling into the recycling device holding a candy box stained with dark red marks. It was injured, bite marks on its body, the depth clearly beyond what normal animals could inflict. Before I could process what it was carrying, I looked up outside. Dozens of zombie dogs were slowly circling the train. Behind them, several monsters like the Uncle Zombie from the silverware shop were limping toward us. I rapped Wall-E's head. Stupid thing had led the monsters right to us. Wall-E didn't understand, just silently raised its hands to present the candy box. Whatever. It did accomplish something. I picked up the chest. Level 2 treasure chest. I showed no concern despite the monsters surrounding us. This was only a level 2 station, and my train had a level 4 defensive structure. When the monsters got within 100 meters, the red orb in the sentry tower locked on. Red circles formed beneath each monster's feet. Long rifles extended from the darkness. Bullets fired continuously, each shot hitting weak points. Less than 10 seconds, every humanoid monster and zombie dog was down. I ate a white forest fruit and watched without much excitement. 8 minutes until departure. The gunfire was louder than at the silverware shop. Every monster in town was probably coming. More and more surrounded the train from all directions. Their fragile bodies meant the sentry only needed 1 bullet per skull. The bigger humanoid monsters took 3 shots each. The sentry's marksmanship was way better than mine, I'll give it that. 1 second left on the countdown. The train started moving with monsters chasing behind. Passed through the void and Doomsday Town vanished, replaced by the endless wasteland once more. The broadcast crackled on. All survivors had left the 3rd station. Trade system restrictions lifted, trading could now happen inside stations. Newbie protection period ended, survival mode activated. Be cautious traveling at night. Trains moving slower than 30 kilometers per hour would enter dangerous status. Upgrade trains quickly. Good luck. Good luck. Survive. The chat room went absolutely nuclear. People screaming about survival mode and nighttime dangers and monsters appearing in the wilderness. Someone had traded all their resources for food and was screwed. Someone was begging for help. People were calling Li Shaoxing brother and begging for upgrade materials, saying they'd joined his alliance. One guy was smug about not selling any resources from the 3 stations, but then asked why the broadcast was delayed an hour again, same as after the 1st station. People were asking if anyone had upgraded their train yet, remembering Li Shaoxing's screenshots. Someone pointed out nobody could have upgraded during the 1st station since the trading system wasn't available inside stations back then. But Li Shaoxing had just claimed to be the first to upgrade, so there must be other experts out there. Unlike the chat room, which was going crazy, I wasn't paying attention to any of that, because the system had just dropped something I'd completely missed. The 3rd station completion screen showed my elimination rating. 11 mutant humanoid zombies killed, 28 zombie dogs, plus zombie cats, and whatever else. A grade elimination rating. And then a hidden mission completion notification. Town Liberator. The reward was a car exchange ticket. So that was the real mission for the station platform. I looked at the text on the screen and then down at the grimy Wall-E. Good thing I had that little guy, otherwise I would have missed all of this. I patted its metal head. The ticket was semi-transparent and showed a train car on it. After enjoying several days in my climate-controlled carriage, I was pretty eager for a new one. I sublimated it. The car exchange ticket became a special car exchange prize ticket, which could get me a level 2 special car. I used it immediately. The ticket burned in midair, and the system announced I'd obtained a basic storage car. It contained 48 storage units. Each could store unlimited quantities of a single item type, but couldn't store living creatures. This was fantastic. I remembered when I first started collecting resources. Wood and metal piled everywhere, No space to even sleep in the locomotive. With this car, I could free up a ton of space. And it could be sublimated once more. I couldn't wait. I walked to the end of the second car and watched through the window as a new carriage descended from the sky, perfectly aligning with the tracks. The connecting door opened. Inside, 48 cabinet-like storage units lined both sides. I put my hand on the wall and sublimated. Stamina dropped from 55 to 30, mental energy from 80 to 55. Upgrading from a level 1 normal car to a level 2 special car cost 20 stamina, but pushing it from level 2 to level 3 totaled 50 points. More than double. My body hit exhaustion again, but my eyes were shining. The storage car became level 3. 51 storage units now, unlimited storage per unit, items wouldn't decay or get damaged, still couldn't store living creatures, and 3 of those units could be accessed by me from anywhere. Those 3 special units were the real prize. Accessible anywhere by the conductor. That was basically a portable inventory. I eagerly stuffed several white forest fruits into one of the special units, then walked back to the locomotive, reached into the air, and a fresh white forest fruit materialized in my hand. This sublimation was an incredible gain. I ate some fruits to recover stamina and moved all my resources into the regular storage units. The train immediately became way more spacious. Of the 3 special units, 1 held white forest fruits, 1 held bullets, and 1 held drinking water. That way my load would be much lighter when exploring stations. Then I remembered the treasure chest wall he had retrieved. I did some quick math. Level 3 to 4 had cost 55 points. Level 1 to 2 was 37. So level 2 to 3 should be around 45. I went for it. Stamina dropped from 30 to 20, mental energy from 55 to 20. The system warned me I was entering exhaustion and mental collapse states. My guess was right, 45 points consumed. Gasping for breath, I strained to look at the chest. It had changed. Level 3 treasure chest, ready to open. Inside were 6 train coins, a zombie slayer, 3 virus serums, and a windproof lighter. The zombie slayer was a chainsaw sword modified from an electric saw that dealt triple damage to zombie-type monsters. The serums were exactly what they sounded like. The windproof lighter was from a level 3 chest, which in some ways was precious too. But none of that mattered as much as the 6 train coins. That brought my total to 10. Nobody could possibly have more than me right now. Before doing anything else, I had something important to do. Sleep. I was exhausted. 10 stamina points left. I'd never pushed myself this hard before. I truly felt the misery of complete exhaustion. As for the mental collapse warning, didn't feel a thing. While I was out cold, the chat room was bustling. People were trading materials to upgrade their trains, though how many actually had the means was another question. Then someone figured out that the broadcast only required 30 kilometers per hour speed, while upgraded trains hit 40. That meant individual parts, specifically wheels, could be upgraded separately using a fraction of the materials. Once that news spread, metal and mechanical parts became the hottest commodities on the trading platform. Nearly everyone wanted to buy them. Survival came first, consequences later. Meanwhile, Li Xiaosheng was wearing an ugly expression. Someone had upgraded before him. How could anyone gather materials faster than him? He was the chosen one. His personal interface showed a special ability called Resource Radar. Before arriving at the next station, he had to select one basic train resource, and that resource would likely appear as collectible at the next station. Metal, mechanical parts, wood. He'd spent 3 stations collecting upgrade materials using this talent. He couldn't comprehend who could possibly be faster than him. I woke up to gunshots. Bang, bang. The intense sound echoed across the wilderness. I opened my tired eyes and instinctively looked out the window. Pairs of crimson eyes were chasing the train under the night sky. What the hell was that? Scared me half to death. The terrifying sight snapped me fully awake. I hurried to the front and found the alert system had already activated. This must be the nighttime danger the broadcast mentioned. The train identified the monsters as Blood Moon Wolves, level 1, chasing speed of 25 kilometers per hour. I relaxed slightly. As long as the train exceeded 30 kilometers per hour, it wouldn't be in danger. And my level 2 train hit 40, so I didn't need to worry about being caught. I splashed cold water on my face, let the chilly wind do its thing, and checked the time. 1:44 in the morning. All sleepiness gone. I opened the chat room, and the numbers made my pupils contract. for 130 out of 10,000. During the day, it had been around 7 or 8,000. Over 4,000 people had died in the wilderness while I slept, and the number was still rising. A chill ran down my spine. Nighttime dangers were far deadlier than anything at the stations. Any train below 30 km per hour would be overtaken and become prey. But how many survivors after 3 stations could actually reach level 2? Only those who survived this night of terror could truly be called survivors. A private message popped up. Shangwan Ingxua asked if I was still alive. I said I just woke up and asked if she wanted to buy something. She said bullets, she'd run out. I rejected the trade. With the alert system active, my bullet consumption had skyrocketed. The massacre at the 3rd station alone had cost me over 70 rounds. I had about 300 left, impossible to spare. She asked if I didn't have a bullet blueprint. I said of course not. I wished I did. She said understood, goodbye. Refreshingly simple. I sat down and opened my personal stats. Stamina at 82, spirit at 110. Wait. I closed the interface, rubbed my eyes, looked again, and pinched myself. Ouch. My spirit cap had increased. How? Did I do something? I tried to recall what happened before sleeping. Aside from exhausting both stats completely, nothing special came to mind. I shook my head and buried the confusion. Regardless, the increase was beneficial. I stood up and touched the control panel. It was time. After 3 stations, it was time for the train's next sublimation. An invisible force enveloped the entire train and my stats started draining like floodgates opening. Level 1 to 2 had only cost 30 stamina. Level 2 to 3 was clearly not going to be that simple. Stamina dropped from 82 to 52, spirit from 110 to 50. 90 points consumed, triple the previous amount. The train was now level 3. Speed increased from 40 to 60 km per hour. Chassis, wheels, and frame all reached level 3 durability. The next upgrade requirements were 300 kilos of wood, 300 mechanical parts, 450 kilos of metal, 10 kilos of glass, 5 kilos of gold, 5 kilos of mithril, and something called a firestone. I had mithril, might get gold eventually, but what the hell was a firestone? Never heard of it. I'd also broken the fastest level 3 train record and gotten a conductor module card. I checked the upgrade options. Early departure privilege for 3 coins, a level 3 bullet blueprint for 4 coins, a level 3 power generator blueprint for 6 coins, and extending docking time by 1 hour for 1 coin. Talk about perfect timing. Low on bullets, and there was a bullet blueprint. The generator had no immediate use, but would be valuable later. The painful part was I thought my 10 coins made me wealthy, and I still couldn't afford everything. I spent 8 coins on the early departure privilege, the bullet blueprint, and the extended docking time. The early departure privilege let me leave a station 1 hour ahead of schedule. With that, I could escape dangerous stations early. The bullet blueprint needed 3 kilos of metal and 500 grams of gunpowder per batch of 100 rounds. Reasonable materials, but where to get gunpowder? The trading platform had some, but in tiny amounts. Not enough for even 1 batch. I'd figure it out later. I sublimated the early departure privilege module. Stamina dropped to 32, spirit to 30. It became a VIP early departure privilege, which let me depart anytime when the docking countdown reached the final 3 hours instead of just 1. More freedom. Then I looked at the conductor module card I'd gotten as the record-breaking reward. Unlike the special module card, this one was blood red. The pattern wasn't a train either. It was an abstract eye shape. My stamina and mental energy were both depleted though, so I suppressed the urge to activate it immediately and lay on the cold train floor. So tired. It seemed like ever since arriving in this world, I'd been constantly exhausted. Yet because of that, even in this terrifying wilderness, I could still sleep soundly. Clutching the red card, I passed out. That night, few people slept. The chat room was full of fear. People screaming about monsters still chasing them, asking what to do. Some said the broadcast only guaranteed no danger status at 30 km per hour, not complete safety. Others said you needed level 2 at 40 km per hour to be truly safe. Someone was cursing out the person who bought all their resources. Another was grateful they'd bought a gun from some expert and it saved their life, but only had 3 bullets left. People telling each other to stop chatting and conserve energy. Tomorrow brought Station 4. At 6:30 in the morning, the broadcast sounded. E3 block, first night survival completed. Survivors, 3825. Second night survival begins in 3 days. Trains below 40 km per hour will enter danger status. Upgrade speed promptly. Take necessary precautions. The gentle tone contrasted sharply with the message. Reach 40 km per hour for the second night in 3 days. Anyone who couldn't upgrade to level 2 within the next 3 stations was done for. The chatroom descended into panic. People screaming about where to get materials, complaining they only found 1 station with trees out of 3. Someone who'd used everything for wheel upgrades had no wood or parts left. People begging Li Shaoxing for help, saying they were in his alliance. Li Shaoxing's lips curled upward as he read the pleading messages. He lacked no resources. His talent let him boost drop rates for specific materials. As long as train upgrades still required basic metals, wood, and mechanical parts, his upgrade intervals would never exceed 3 stations. He didn't know who'd beaten him to the first upgrade, but dismissed it as luck. His progress came from diligent use of his ability. He posted in the chat telling all Alliance members not to panic. He'd find ways to help them upgrade. Then he remembered me. That Yiqian guy. After selling so many guns, I should be close to upgrading. Could I be the one who beat him? The more he thought about it, the more plausible it seemed. He sent me a private chat request, then realized we weren't even friends. He figured he'd give me another chance considering my gun supply. Friend request sent. Then silence. I woke up the next morning with a sore back from sleeping on the floor. Grabbed a white forest fruit from portable storage, washed my face, watered the sapling. Checked the time. 8:34. I'd slept that long. The fruit cleared my mind. Next survival night in 3 days, 40 km per hour required. Didn't concern me. I looked at the red card in my hand. The second record-breaking reward. My stamina was at 82, not fully recovered for some reason, but mental energy was at 110. Should be enough. I activated my talent. Sublimate. The familiar draining sensation. Stamina and spirit dropped as the invisible energy enveloped the red card. It became an advanced conductor module card. Mental energy went from 110 to 80. I opened it and got an advanced conductor module called Judgment of Gunfire. Mastery of all firearms. Sharply increased shooting aptitude. Could consume mental energy to enhance one bullet, and the next shot would judge the target, increasing damage based on their sins. New sensations flooded my mind. I drew the blacklight pistol, and all previous clumsiness was gone. Holding the gun, I felt like a battle-hardened marksman. Every casual shot would now hit exactly where intended. To think it directly gave me the skills of a sharpshooter. If I encountered those zombie monsters again, no need to hide and dodge like before. Having digested all my rewards, I munched on some fruit and opened the private chat. With my minor reputation among survivors, someone might reach out for trades. Missing blueprints or train coins would be a shame. I saw a friend request from Li Shaoxing, the 3-station guy. He was inviting me to join an alliance. After some thought, I accepted. We weren't the same kind of people, but he probably had some train coins. Trading was fine, just wouldn't get too involved. On his end, Li Shaoxing noticed the friend request was accepted. He remembered only sending one proactively and assumed I was finally reaching out. I asked if he was done making those fishing rods. He was confused. Said Brother Yi, long time no see. Asked if I'd completed my first train upgrade. I ignored the question and asked about the fishing rod price. He said of course he sold them. Could even give me one for free. I waited for the inevitable strings attached. He said just join his alliance. Members contributed 5 kilos of wood or 1 train coin, and he'd provide daily rations plus a fishing rod. He mentioned he could produce survival rations after reaching level 2. Then he went on about how I'd stockpiled food and water from gun sales, taken over 100 kilos of metal from him, doubtless for firearms. But supplies run out, and guns wouldn't always sell. Join him, arm the alliance members, and when we finally met, we'd become the strongest faction. I calmly finished reading the lengthy message, chewing my fruit, and typed back. So, selling rods or not? If not, forget it. He wasn't the only one selling rods anyway. Someone had obtained a mechanical fishing rod blueprint at the very first station and survived to sell them. When Li Shaoxing stopped responding, I didn't bother waiting. A quick search in the chat room led me to the other seller, a guy named Zhao Lin. I asked if he was selling rods. He said yes. Now this was a seller I could appreciate. 20 mechanical parts and 1 biscuit later, I had a mechanical fishing rod. It was even automated, beats wooden rods by miles. I immediately sublimated it. It became a basic, alluring mechanical fishing rod. No bait required and more effective at attracting fish when cast. I also got a friend request from Zhao Lin and accepted. At 12:30 p.m., a thunderous roar split the gloomy sky. From my climate-controlled carriage, I watched through the window as oppressive black clouds choked everything. A single raindrop fell, then multiplied into a torrential downpour. The announcement system crackled on. Today was thunderstorm day. Next station would likely enter thunderstorm conditions. Rain gear recommended. Since when was this a thing? The wasteland weather affected stations too. I checked the crossroads of fate. 2 options. Station 1, Thunderstrike Goblin Tribe, a level 3 hunting station. Station 2, Mistvale Manor, a level 3 mission station. Station levels increased again. And goblins again. I couldn't shake the feeling I had some bizarre connection to goblins. This was only my 4th station, and 3 had involved them. At this rate, I'd inevitably have to choose a goblin station someday. Not today, though. I had no intention of entering hunting stations that reeked of danger. I chose Mistvale Manor. The train accelerated, space dissolved. Rain formed a thin film over the locomotive as thunder boomed and darkness swallowed everything. The system confirmed we were at Mistvale Manor. Docking time was 5 hours. Good luck. Warning, hazardous. The train had stopped on a broken mountain highway. In the darkness, only the relentless patter of rain. A flash of lightning revealed a police car billowing smoke nearby, surrounded by uniformed corpses. I muttered, not zombies again. Whatever. Wally first. I inserted one of my last 2 train coins into the robot and watched it wobble out. I prepped my gear. 3 special storage units loaded with white forest fruits, bullets, and 3 vials of blessed virus serum. The serum originally only cured zombie virus, but after sublimation it also handled vampirism, spectral corrosion, disease infection, and healed wounds. Basically health potions now. Pistol, rifle, dagger, bulletproof vest, and the mithril cross. Fully armed and wearing a traded raincoat, I pressed the door release. Braving the storm, I walked straight to the wrecked police car. Confirmed the corpses weren't turning into zombies and started searching. Found a voice recorder beside one officer. The recording said they'd received a report from Rainvale Villa on Devil Mountain. Local tycoon Ravi had died there. The cop didn't understand why anyone still lived in that place, how many people had died there over the years. But the tycoon was one of their police station's investors, so they had to find his murderer. As for the real killer, probably Ravi's maid. If they couldn't find the real culprit, they'd just pin it on her. Not like they hadn't done that before. So this was the mission. Or rather, the surface-level mission. I found 2 pistols and 4 magazines of low-grade bullets in the police car, plus a baton. Not useful to me. I tossed them back, took the police badge and chief's identification, and headed up the winding mountain road. Rainvale Villa was less than 15 minutes from where the train stopped. I stood before the iron gates of a massive black estate. A nervous security guard rushed over and asked who I was. I presented the badge and identification. In the dark thunderstorm, it was enough. He called me chief and hurried to open the gates. Said I must find the real killer who murdered their master. I asked how Mr. Ravi died. The guard said 4 nights ago. Besides him, only the son and daughter remained, along with the butler and a maid. He was certain the maid did it. I stopped walking and asked for days ago. So they waited a full day after Ravi's death to report it. Why? He explained it had been raining nonstop all week. Phone lines and internet were affected. They barely managed one call 3 days ago. Since then, nobody dared leave. Classic locked room mystery setup. I'd played murder mystery games with similar premises. But if it were truly this simple, why would this be a level 3 mission station? Even level 2 had monsters like zombies. Something was off. Just as we were about to enter the castle, a scream came from above. A lightning flash illuminated a female corpse plummeting from somewhere high and crashing into the lawn. Blood mixed with rainwater, forming a crimson stream. But my gaze was fixed on where the body had fallen from. I saw a shadow, one that clearly didn't belong to a human, and the sanctified mithril cross hanging on my chest was emitting heat. Indeed, not so simple after all. The guard screamed that the maid was dead. An elderly man with a graying beard ran out from the castle. The guard took one look at him and shrieked, called him the killer, and fled into the darkness. The old man's face went ashen. He sighed and introduced himself as the family butler. Asked if I was the chief from outside. Said I was young. Another death. What was happening? I asked another. Besides Ravi and the woman just now, who else had died? The butler seemed accustomed to such scenes. He picked up the body and carried it to a spot on the lawn where several pre-dug graves waited. He tossed the corpse in. There were 5 graves, 3 already had bodies. He gave a bitter smile and told me to come inside first. In the castle, the chill didn't fade. I felt like something was watching me. He offered coffee or tea. I said hot water was fine. He brought coffee anyway. I didn't drink it. Asked what was actually happening here. The butler sighed. Under the dim candlelight, his bloodshot eyes were unsettling. For days ago, only the master died. The young mistress and young master had a fierce argument. She believed the maid killed their father. He was having an affair with the maid and defended her. They quarreled violently. The next morning, the butler found the young mistress's body in the attic. The guard had feelings for her and went mad that day. On the 3rd day, the young master died too. Today was the 4th day. The butler believed he'd die sooner or later. So yesterday, he dug graves for all 5 of them. At least when his time came, there'd be a proper resting place. He said this estate was cursed. Everyone who lived here died. He should have dissuaded the master from buying it just because it was cheap. Told me I should leave as soon as possible. As expected, the mystery had turned supernatural. I gripped the cross tightly. If not for this thing, I would have left immediately. I asked why he was still here. He said he tried to leave, but couldn't. The gates wouldn't let him pass. He'd told the guard to not let me in if the chief came, but he was sorry. If I found myself unable to leave either, he'd dig a grave for me. I asked what he meant by that curse. The old butler was stunned, looked at my young face, showing no fear, and asked if I wasn't afraid. I stood up and looked toward the solid wood stairs leading upstairs. Told him I forgot to mention, besides being a police chief, I also worked part-time as a priest. Since something like this had happened, of course I wouldn't leave easily. I pulled out the Mithril Sanctuary cross from my chest pocket. The gentle holy light dispelled the surrounding darkness. In that glow, I probably looked like the spokesperson of a deity. The old butler's mouth dropped open. He rubbed his eyes hard, staring at me in disbelief. Stunned for a long moment. Only after the light faded and I cleared my throat did he regain his senses. Said, "Praise the heavens, we were saved." With the part-time priest identity, I quickly learned the secrets of the manor from the old butler. The first owner was secretly a bloodthirsty madman. Once, a prey escaped to the police station and the manor owner used his own maid as a scapegoat. She was thrown into prison, tortured for days by the corrupt police chief who conspired with the manor owner, forced to confess, and executed by shooting. After that, the manor was engulfed in thunder and rain. All contact with the outside world was cut off. When the storm passed, everyone in the manor had died unnatural deaths, including the police chief who'd had an affair with the manor owner's wife. Over the next 30 years, the manor changed hands more than a dozen times. Each owner died a violent death on a rainy night. The current owner, Ravi, didn't believe in ghosts or gods. He was a miser. When he learned about this huge manor being sold cheap and tax-free, he bought it immediately. And then, as the butler said, rainy nights, communication cuts, deaths. The only difference was they'd managed to contact an outside police station and bring me here. Maybe I could really break the curse. I asked where the first owner's maid died. The butler said probably in the clock tower at the highest point of the castle. I already knew what to do. The so-called curse was probably a restless spirit bound to the land. As long as my cross could defeat it, the mission would be solved. I didn't think about what would happen if I failed. Pointless. Carrying an oil lamp, I followed the butler up the castle stairs. Cold, damp air echoed through the place. Dripping rainwater added to the creepy atmosphere. When we reached the clock tower, the cross in my palm started emitting bursts of heat. I said, "It's here." The butler dared not enter. I gritted my teeth and stepped in alone. The moment I entered, I felt something lock onto me and rush toward me at high speed. I told it to get lost. The Mithril Sanctuary cross released a soft light, illuminating the clock tower. A piercing scream shattered the night sky. Then a smooth, translucent skull fell at my feet with a clang. Just over. I felt it was unreal. Pinched my thigh. It hurt. Not dreaming, not hallucinating. I searched around but found nothing except that skull. It was really over. I looked at the cross in my hand and realized I might have underestimated it. Without the sublimation ability, without transforming the level 2 mithril cross into the sanctuary cross, I wouldn't have had any means of resistance against something like this. I exhaled deeply. The station seemed to end abruptly, but what was wrong with that? I picked up the skull. Didn't know what it was used for, but since it popped out, no reason not to take it. The butler waiting outside wiped cold sweat from his forehead, saw the skull in my hand, and stepped back several paces in fright. I told him the curse was resolved. This skull was the curse's core. He said, "God bless. Thank you for saving us." After leaving the top floor, the thunderstorm still showed no sign of weakening, which was normal. A restless spirit that could be killed instantly wasn't the cause of the storm. On the contrary, the storm created the restless spirit. The manor seal was lifted, and I had no immediate plan to leave. How long had it been? Less than an hour. Where was this place? A wealthy man's manor. No weapons or train coins, but something else important that no other station had. Food. Real vegetables and meat. White forest fruit was delicious, but eating it every day got tiresome. As a normal human, I missed regular meals. The old butler took a pure red gemstone from a safe, said it was the master's most precious treasure, priceless, and asked me not to refuse it. Then added that if I liked anything else in the manor, I could take it freely, since there was no longer an owner. That last sentence was exactly what I wanted to hear. I accepted the gem and weighed it in my hand. Smooth and cool, like a piece of ice. I said I'd be heading down the mountain soon, but needed to restock supplies. Could I take some food and water? He said of course. I entered the kitchen and saw the fridge stocked with fresh meat, eggs, and vegetables. Filled my backpack and hurried to the train. Made a round trip every 20 minutes, dropped off supplies, came right back. The old butler, who was tying up the crazed security guard, was startled by my sudden return. Asked if there was still a problem with the curse. I said no problem, the Almighty God was just hungry, so I was bringing some food back. No problem, right? I made several trips, transporting most of the food and various seasonings from the kitchen. Hadn't forgotten there were still 2 living people in the manor, so I didn't take everything. On my final departure, the old butler called out to me from the iron gate. I stopped and turned around. He was leading the insane security guard, both bowing to me. He thanked me for saving their lives and handed over a wooden box tied with ribbon. Said he wasn't implying I'd made too many trips, could empty the entire manor for all he cared. Just remembered this now and would regret it if I left without receiving it. I opened the box and looked slightly surprised. The old butler shook his head and sighed. Said, judging by my expression, I must know about Run Company. These were the coins used in transactions with them. With these coins, I could buy anything from them. The master had collected them for many years and only acquired these 3. Since the master was dead, he'd rather give them to me as a token of gratitude. Inside the box were 3 train coins. But what surprised me more was the name. Run Company. This organization that appeared in Doomsday Town wasn't just background setting. Would I encounter this company at other stations in the future? How vast was this organization? Couldn't figure it out. Lacked information to speculate. I returned to the train for the last time, discarded my raincoat, and smiled at the accumulated food and assortment of pots and pans. Overthinking was useless. Better focus on staying alive. Storage items went into the train's storage unit. No worries about spoilage. I set up a grill inside the train, placed a thick premium steak on it, and prepared my first proper warm dinner since arriving in this world. During grilling breaks, I placed containers outside to collect rainwater and organized my special acquisitions from this station. A purified earthbound object, level 3, could be placed anywhere on the train to ward off evil spirits. A soft ruby, level 1, valuable, certain beings might purchase with train coins, could also be used for a ruby-colored train paint job. Would anyone actually buy that with train coins? Tossed the gem aside. Then I sublimated the skull. Stamina dropped from 56 to 49, spirit from 90 to 50. The invisible energy enveloped it, and the object in my hand transformed from a skull into a perfectly smooth, glowing jade stone. Pure earthbound stone, level 4. Placed anywhere on the train, it enabled evil spirit dispersion. Nullified all evil spirit powers below its level and automatically absorbed negative effects targeting the conductor. The sublimated object's abilities had qualitatively leaped forward. Both could dispel evil spirits, but the level 4 stone added negative effect absorption and immunity to spirits below level 4, meaning before reaching level 5, I'd face no danger from supernatural stations. Most importantly, I didn't sense this stone's potential was exhausted. It could still be sublimated further. Departure countdown showed 42 minutes. While enjoying my steak, I heard noises from the collection station. Wall-E emerged from the hole below, carrying a blood-stained gift box. The robot wobbled over and presented it. Level 3 treasure chest. I told Wall it was a good job and I'd get it some oil later. The robot returned silently to the collection station to hibernate. With the chest in hand, there was no reason to stay. I said depart. The train started, accelerated through the void, emerged from the dark thunderclouds, and returned to the endless wilderness. The broadcast announced all survivors had left Station 4. Station chat function activated. Newcomers hidden module, beginners protection, deactivated. From now on, monsters would attack trains during daytime too. The chatroom exploded. People screaming about monsters at night and day now. No sleep allowed, saying just kill them instead of torturing them. Someone said this world wanted them dead and never planned to give a way out. Others wondered why the announcement was delayed again. Someone suggested it meant a level 3 train existed, but was immediately shut down. Nobody could gather that many materials that fast. People saying they'd eat their words if someone did. Someone was selling bug meat for bullets, high protein, tasted like beef. Another person asked if he was Bear Grylls. After 4 stations, survivors had been forced to accept this world's cruelty. Few raged at the announcements anymore. Station 4's death toll was slightly lower than Station 3. 3455 out of 10,000. Fewer than 1,000 deaths. The chat scroll speed had undeniably slowed from the beginning. I ignored all that and focused on the box in my hands. Sublimate. Stamina dropped from 63 to 33, spirit from 70 to 45. Level 4 treasure chest, ready to open. I speared a piece of steak with my fork, wiped my hands. The last level 4 chest gave the watchtower. Hopefully this one wouldn't disappoint. Inside were 8 train coins, an observer blueprint at level 4, a safety bracelet at level 4, a wind-up monkey doll bomb blueprint at level 4, and something called a profane card fragment. 2 of the 3 items were blueprints. This chest was much luckier than the last one. The observer blueprint needed 100 kilos of metal, 80 of wood, 150 mechanical parts, and 30 electronic components. When installed in any carriage, it could monitor any part of the train and sound an alarm upon detecting foreign intrusion. Excellent train facility, though I currently lack the electronic components. The safety bracelet could block one fatal attack, then shatter after use. Brief description, incredibly practical. I put it on my right wrist and felt an inexplicable sense of security. The wind-up monkey doll bomb blueprint needed 3 kilos of metal, 40 mechanical parts, 400 grams of gunpowder, and 1 kilo of fiber. When fully wound, the monkey doll would go to a designated location and self-destruct. 400 grams of gunpowder. I remembered 100 bullets only used 500 grams total. But where to get gunpowder? Having blueprints without materials was frustrating. Then there was the final reward. A black and gold card, 1/3 of a whole. Profane card fragment. Needed 3 fragments to synthesize the profane card, which meant at least 3 level 4 treasure chests. Maybe more since level 4 chests might not guarantee getting this fragment. I toyed with the unusually textured card. Didn't know what would happen after synthesis, but it surely wouldn't be ordinary. I turned to the trading platform. Purchasing didn't go smoothly. Quantities were too small, prices inconsistent, premiums too high. Even though I was relatively wealthy, I wasn't about to get taken for a fool. The truly capable people had already passed through the initial difficult period. Items like gunpowder wouldn't be casually put up for sale. I needed to post directly in the chatroom. I posted a message offering to buy gunpowder. 200 grams could be exchanged for 1 compressed biscuit and 1 bottle of drinking water or 1 fresh tomato. I also posted a trade request for electronic components. 10 components for 1 bottle of mineral water plus 1 compressed biscuit. Then I spent 1 train coin to pin the message so all survivors would see it. After the thunderstorm station, anyone slightly intelligent shouldn't be too short of water. Boiling it would at least prevent death from thirst. Especially with Shangguaning Xue, the major water seller. I often saw her listings on the trading platform. I added another compressed biscuit to the offer. 1 bottle of water and 1 military biscuit could sustain someone for a whole day. The biscuit's sweetness could provide some comfort in these life and death situations. As for tomatoes, the castle kitchen had an abundance. I'd hauled back 3 large crates. Ancient sailors got scurvy from lack of fresh produce on long voyages. Surviving on a train wasn't that different from being on a ship. The chat lit up. People amazed at the pinned message, realizing it cost a train coin. Someone recognized my name as the guy who sold rifles after the first stop. Someone else pointed out I was offering tomatoes and was desperate for fresh fruit. People asking if they could trade other things for tomatoes. Someone argued tomatoes were vegetables, not fruits. People begging me to sell guns, offering train coins. There were capable people among the survivors. In a short time, I completed 10 preset trades. 2 kilos of gunpowder sat in front of me. I used some to manufacture my first batch of level 3 bullets. 100 rounds materialized in the designated storage area. They felt slightly heavier than the low-level bullets. I loaded one into the blacklight pistol and fired at a stack of metal. Where low-level bullets could only penetrate, the level 3 bullet blew the entire stack apart. I was extremely satisfied. After manufacturing the remaining gunpowder into bullets, I stored 999 level 3 bullets in the special storage unit. The chat interface flickered. All 3 of my contacts had messaged me. Li Shaoxing said he had gunpowder. I could make weapons. If we joined forces, we could become kings of all conductors. A Chinibu case. Not worth responding to. Zhao Lin asked if I could sell him a gun, could pay with train coins. A smart trading partner. Worth doing business with. Then Shangwaning Shua. She asked what level my train was at now. That one gave me pause. What did she mean? If she was asking whether I'd reached level 2, that was pointless. After the 4th stop, besides Li Shaoxing, others had also upgraded. Even if I hadn't announced it, people would assume I was among them. I wasn't particularly concerned about my train level being exposed. Whether it was known or not didn't matter. I wasn't afraid. I typed back. Just upgraded. Shangwan Ingxue went quiet for a moment at my vague answer. She was apparently half submerged in a steaming bath because she hesitated before asking what I was collecting gunpowder for. Bullets. Could I sell her some? Bullets were attracting customers as soon as I made them. I squinted at the message. As the second conductor besides myself to reach level 2, she naturally had more resources than most. And unlike Li Shaoxing, who was a whole production, trading with her was easy. I told her of course I could sell bullets, but this time I didn't want water or resources. I only wanted train coins. 1 coin for 30 bullets. She asked if I was robbing her. Obviously, she couldn't accept that price. I said no. I was stating a fact. My bullets were worth that price. I sent a screenshot. She saw the level 3 affix attached to the bullets, and her eyes went wide. How is that possible? Level 3 bullets. Had I really reached level 3? But she didn't ask how. Everyone had their secrets and their luck. Just like her. She took a deep breath and tried bargaining. 50 bullets for 1 coin. 30 was too few. I said 50 was too many. How about 40, a middle ground? Usually when bargaining, one side would leave a middle value and both parties would accept it. She sighed and pulled out her only 3 train coins with some reluctance. Said deal, but I had to give her a gun as well. The one she had before was a bit damaged. I said I couldn't just give her one, but I could sell her a new one. Told her to take a look before deciding. I showed her the exquisite sharpshooter rifle, level 2. Clearly more luxurious and powerful than a low-grade rifle. She asked how much. I said not much, 2 train coins. I'd throw in 10 bullets as a gift. Counting the previous ones, that was 50 bullets total. Fit her needs perfectly. Pretty generous, right? She glanced at the 3 coins in her hand and probably felt like she was being watched. Otherwise, how could I know exactly what she had? After hesitating, she gritted her teeth and said deal. I then asked if she remembered she had a wooden bed blueprint. Could she help me make one? I'd provide the materials. Consider it a return gift for the extra 10 bullets. She said 10 kilos of wood. She didn't want to say anything else. After the deal was done, she sighed as she looked at the extra wood I sent over, made the bed, and sent it. I gained 3 train coins and a bed to sleep on. Huge win. The exquisite sharpshooter rifle was of little use to me. After acquiring the Judgment of Gunfire module, even just using a handgun, I could hit distant targets. Keeping the rifle was pointless. Better to sell it for train coins. Lying on the bed after a long time, my mood improved significantly. 14 train coins. That was my current wealth. Trading with that kind of person was pleasant, no unnecessary nonsense. Oh, and there was Zhao Lin too. I unloaded the low-grade rifles on the warning platform, all sublimated to level 2, and sold them to Zhao Lin for 2 train coins each. Then exchanged 100 low-grade bullets for 5 freshwater fish. That brought my total to 16 train coins. Shortly after, I successfully acquired electronic components. After consuming the materials, I directly built and installed the surveillance device in the 3rd train car. Like the warning device, I couldn't upgrade it for now. The level 4 threshold required figuring out how to surpass it first. Then I remembered I could exchange for the power generator. That blueprint worth 6 train coins from the level 3 upgrade options. I spent the coins and got the energy power generator manufacturing blueprint, level 3. Needed 50 mechanical parts and 40 kilos of metal. Less than I expected. No extra trades needed. I made the generator directly. It consumed diesel to generate power. Diesel was available on the trading platform, but only 1 barrel, and a very small amount at that. Even if bought, it wouldn't last long, and acquiring more was probably difficult. I wasn't satisfied, so I padded the generator, which was about the height of my calf, and sublimated it. It became a power generator with an enchanted omnivorous tag, level 3. Now it could consume resources like metal, wood, coal, or oil to generate power. No need to buy oil anymore. I casually threw in a piece of wood, and the battery level rose slightly. I bought some electric light bulbs to hang in the train cars. With electricity, no need to endure darkness at night anymore. On the 4th day after arriving in this world, I could finally lie in bed like a normal human and count stars as I drifted to sleep. Of course, there were no stars tonight. Only the suffocating rolling black clouds above. The wilderness night was especially lonely. No monster attacks tonight. Only increasingly faint thunder and fading drips of rain. The thunderstorm quietly passed. The next morning, dazzling sunlight shone through the window onto my face. I woke up groggily, stretched lazily, grabbed a white forest fruit as breakfast, and headed to the front cabin out of habit. But the moment I stepped inside, a wave of heat struck me awake instantly. Damn, so hot. What was going on? The broadcast sounded. Today's weather was hot wind day. All conductors should take care, maintain body temperature, avoid heat stroke. The weather changed again. But this time it didn't say the platform would change too. I went back to the temperature-controlled car to wash my face, gritted my teeth, and went back to the front cabin. Really inconvenient that the control system could only be used there. The chat room was already bustling. Everyone except me had been woken by the weather change earlier. Being able to sleep until now, I was the only one. People were screaming about the heat, asking what the temperature was outside. At least 40 degrees Celsius. Someone was begging for water. Someone else pointed out they should have collected rainwater during the thunderstorm. Another person complained that in this heat, they sweated out any water they drank immediately, and the train was just a metal box, no different from an oven. Someone said just endure it, we'd reach the next station in a few hours. Another person told them to look at their mental stats. Ever since the heat started, both mental and physical attributes had been dropping continuously. The only thing that slightly slowed the decline was splashing cool water on themselves. At this rate, even if they didn't die from heat stroke, they'd probably go insane first. I wiped sweat from my forehead, gulped down an entire bottle of mineral water, and checked my personal interface. Physical at 98, mental at 110. My physical stats were indeed decreasing, but unlike what others reported, my mental stats remained unchanged. My mental state seemed different from others. Could it be from eating too many white forest fruits? Then a gunshot disrupted my thoughts. The warning device was firing. Outside the train, a group of emaciated hyenas had gathered, chasing after the train. Their speed posed no threat to my level 3 train. What concerned me was that unlike the night survival events, there had been no broadcast warning about these monsters. They had simply appeared and begun pursuit. This might become the new normal. Completely random appearances. Nobody had mentioned this in the chat room, meaning I'd simply been unlucky to encounter these hyenas. A private message came in. Zhao Lin asked if there were monsters outside my train too. I asked if she'd encountered some too. She said yes. If she hadn't barely managed to increase her train's speed to 35 km/h after the 4th station, It would have caught her. Those birds were terrifying. Many crashed into the windows. If not for the gun I sold her, she'd be dead. Birds. Different from my hyenas then. I asked what she wanted to buy this time. She said she needed upgrade materials, but was out of train coins. Could she pay with fish instead? Zhao Lin also possessed a special talent. Luck conservation. Good luck follows bad luck, and bad luck follows good luck. At the third station, her terrible luck landed her in a dark, damp bat cave. Too afraid to leave her train, she endured 3 hours inside. But her fourth station was a fish pond. Using the fishing rod she'd made early on, she caught over 100 fish and a level 1 treasure chest in just 3 hours, without any bait, as if the fish were blind to her hook. Undoubtedly, that had been good luck. But next would certainly be misfortune. She likely wouldn't be able to upgrade her train, leaving only 1 station before the next night's survival. She didn't dare gamble on finding enough resources at a single station. I immediately rejected her offer. I wasn't short on food now. The only reason I'd sold her 100 bullets before was because I'd wanted fish and the low-grade bullets had become useless to me. I said sorry, not interested. She panicked, begged me to save her just this once. Said I was the only person she could think of who might have upgrade materials to spare. If she didn't upgrade now, she wouldn't survive the next night's survival. I told her she still had 2 stations. It wasn't impossible to reach level 2. She said others might manage, but she couldn't. Then she revealed her talent secret, gritted her teeth, and told me everything. This was the first time I'd seen someone else's talent besides my own sublimation. Alternating cycles of good and bad luck. What an abstract talent. Mine was definitely better. No wonder she was desperate. If the next station brought misfortune, even good luck afterward might not guarantee an upgrade. I considered briefly and asked how much she needed. She said 38 kilos of wood, 22 of metal, and 14 mechanical parts. I told her she must have opened a treasure chest before. Give me its contents plus 10 fish. After she upgraded, I wanted to see her upgrade options. And don't try giving me that fishing rod blueprint. I wanted the chest she opened last station. Don't get it wrong. I did have the materials. As the first conductor to trade materials for firearms, even now those guns could hardly fetch such fundamental upgrade resources. But I wasn't running a charity. Helping her now was simply an investment. Someone with a talent might prove a valuable trading partner later. She said yes. Thank you. I was such a good person, she'd repay me. The trade completed. Several items and 10 freshwater fish appeared before me. Waterproof boots, level 1. Tough fishing line, level 1. Plant nutrient solution, level 1. So this was a level 1 treasure chest. I'd never opened one before. Getting one from Zhao Lin could be considered quite a lucky break. The first 2 items weren't particularly useful, but the third one immediately caught my attention. Plant nutrient solution. Accelerated plant growth. Wasn't this exactly what I needed right now? Even after sublimation, the white forest fruit tree still required 9 full days to bear fruit. Only 2 days had passed since planting. What if I used this nutrient solution on it? I sublimated it first. Stamina dropped from 95 to 85. It became a high-efficiency plant nutrient solution. Greatly accelerated plant growth. The effect remained largely the same, just with a high-efficiency prefix added. Surprisingly, it hadn't exhausted its potential yet. I sublimated again. Stamina dropped from 85 to 65. It became a blessed plant elixir. Now its potential was exhausted. More than just the prefix changed, the entire name transformed. I hurried back to the temperature-controlled carriage's rear section and poured the elixir into the wooden box containing the white forest tree. Seconds later, a white glow enveloped the box. The previously stunted sapling began growing rapidly upward, reaching the carriage ceiling in the blink of an eye, nearly breaking through. Then white forest fruits began appearing on the branches at visible speed. 1, 2, an endless stream of fruits emerged from the treetop. Only when the milky white glow faded did the fruit growth finally stop. I rubbed my eyes and pinched myself. Was I dreaming? It actually grew this much. I plucked a fruit, and the familiar fragrance snapped me back to reality. Nearly took a bite before remembering the side effects. The tree was now a blessed white forest tree, level 4. Produced 3 blessed white forest fruits daily. The fruits themselves were level 4 too. Could be consumed without processing. Restored stamina and mental energy while increasing hallucination resistance. The side effects were gone. They could now be safely eaten without water soaking. I took a bite. Rich sweetness filled my nostrils. An indescribable deliciousness that made me crave more. I wondered if this was what they called virtue rewarded, or did I catch some of Zhao Lin's good luck? But there was bad luck too. Better not talk to her much at the next stop. Harvesting the fruits yielded 55 in total, which I stored in special compartments to replace regular white forest fruits for carrying. Level 4 blessed white forest fruits could restore stamina and mental energy, potentially life-saving in critical moments. While others suffered in the tropical heat, I lounged comfortably in my 22-degree climate-controlled carriage, enjoying barbecue and beer. The only downside was the beer wasn't cold. Should get a fridge when I got the chance. 30 minutes before arriving at the 5th stop, the crossroads of fate prompt appeared. 2 options. Station 1, Abyssal Bat Cave, a level 4 combat station. Station 2, Mystic Bell Town, a level 4 mission station. Both level 4. I wondered if I'd caught Zhao Lin's bad luck. While I knew the train might upgrade stops by 1 level, having both options at level 4 was a first. Combat. Different name from previous hunting stations. What was the difference? After some thought, I decided caution was best. At level 4 stops, my equipment advantage would be minimal. Moreover, the combat label gave me an uneasy feeling. I chose Station 2, the mission stop. Having experienced 2 mission stops already, I felt more confident. If dangers arose, I could always abandon the mission. The train accelerated. Familiar void space appeared ahead. When the countdown hit 0, the sunny world was replaced by darkness. The system confirmed we were at Mystic Bell Town. Docking time was 5 hours. Good luck. This station was rated danger, with an exclamation point more severe than ordinary danger. I looked out the window. This was a station. By all appearances, we'd stopped at an utterly ordinary train station with 2 tracks. Nighttime. Light snow falling from the sky. Following protocol, I first woke Wall E, inserted 1 train coin. The little robot wobbled off the train. As I prepared to disembark, approaching footsteps disrupted my plans. Human or monster? A young girl's voice carried across the empty platform. Sir, Inspector, you've finally come. Human. I kept my pistol ready. The judgment of gunfire module let me calculate perfect firing solutions based solely on sound, without visual confirmation. Then the voice's owner reached the train door. A petite girl of about 11 or 12, bundled in a white winter coat with knitted hat and scarf, stood on tiptoe peering into the train. She said, where's the inspector? Then she spotted me and waved enthusiastically. Said Inspector, please come out. Everyone's been waiting so very long. Inspector. Everyone. I hesitated briefly, then opened the door. If this girl posed any threat, either the warning device or pure earthbound stone would react. I asked her name. She blinked big azure eyes and answered cheerfully. She was Tina. Sister Nun said a train-riding chief inspector would come save them. Everyone had waited so long. Sister didn't lie, the inspector really came. I looked at her and nodded with a kind smile. Confirmed that the person arriving by train would be the inspector. Besides me, there was no second person, so I was indeed the inspector. She said, "Yay, come with her quickly, everyone had been waiting forever." I told her to wait a moment and handed her an ordinary white forest fruit. The little girl showed no fear or hesitation as she took a bite. Said it was delicious and thanked me. I smiled without responding, checked my equipment one last time, put on the chapel cross, and stepped off the train. After closing the door and setting the warning device to maximum power, I turned my attention to the little girl nibbling on her fruit. Told her let's go meet these people. Following the girl away from the unnaturally normal station, we entered a small town dusted with light snow. No streetlights. Only a single lantern hanging above the church at its center, our apparent destination. The church resembled an upright train cab. The town was quiet, yet I could feel eyes watching from the darkness. Occasional whispers sent chills down my spine. I kept one hand on my blacklight pistol and the chapel cross. I hadn't forgotten the station's warning. This town's threat level was marked danger with an exclamation point, more severe than ordinary danger. Yet in this eerie environment that would terrify most adults, little Tina seemed completely unaffected, skipping along like the only splash of color in a grayscale world. We reached the church. Tina stood before the doors, the overhead lantern illuminating her as she beckoned me inside. I told her to go first. She pushed open the doors and bright light revealed hundreds of townspeople seated along both sides, heads bowed in prayer. Only the golden-haired nun in black at the front stood, lowering her black-bound book as she noticed Tina, then me behind her. Tina announced she'd brought the inspector. At these words, all praying residents fell silent simultaneously. Like marionettes, their heads lifted in unison, hundreds of eyes locking onto my face. I stood my ground, the safety on my blacklight pistol already off. The slightest hostile move would send a bullet through the nun's skull. The nun smiled warmly and said there was no need for alarm. They meant me no harm. Told everyone to continue their prayers, don't frighten the inspector. Told Tina to go prepare. Tina scampered to the back. The townspeople resumed praying. Only the nun walked normally, retrieving a box from beneath the pulpit and approaching me. She said this was my reward. I said I'd done nothing to earn it. Told her to stay where she was and asked what was really happening here. I aimed my pistol at her head. This town wasn't right. Anyone could see that. Yet amidst this abnormality existed Tina and this nun, their very normality making everything more unsettling. Unfazed, the nun stopped as instructed but knelt to place the box on the floor, opening it to reveal its contents. 1/3 of a black and gold card. I recognized it instantly, even without the train's appraisal. Blasphemy card. Still smiling, the nun knelt before the partial card, clasping her hands in prayer. Said only those who blaspheme against gods could enter this world. I was the inspector she'd awaited, or more accurately, the blasphemer. I asked what she was talking about. I glanced at my chest cross. No reaction. This woman wasn't evil. The nun's gaze also flicked to my cross as she lifted the blasphemy card fragment and advanced. Said inspector was just the title for Tina. Only trained conductors possessing blasphemy cards could enter this world, though she could call me conductor if I preferred. She chuckled and asked which stop this town was for me. She knew about conductors. As she drew nearer, I gave a cold laugh and bolted for the station. The golden-haired nun stared in surprise before reaching out and saying, "Wait, don't run." I said only fools wouldn't run. I didn't slow down. The flustered nun shouted, "Stop him." The praying townspeople sprang into action, sprinting after me with impossible speed. I knew this stop wouldn't be easy. Seeing my pursuers gaining, I gritted my teeth and fired. Bang! The lead pursuer took a headshot, but the golden-haired nun smirked. Said useless. These were her creations. Mere bullets couldn't stop them. Besides, conductors entering here were at most level 3. A novice like me could never. Her triumph lasted seconds before she realized her connection to that puppet had severed. I'd actually destroyed one. Impossible. As she'd said, ordinary bullets wouldn't work. But what about level 3 bullets with armor-piercing effects? I kept firing, each shot precisely striking joints or heads. After eliminating several, I'd create distance before repeating the process. With the judgment of gunfire module, my aim required no conscious thought. Maintaining this balance, I actually seemed likely to escape the town. Then a soft sigh. Less than 100 meters from the station, the golden-haired nun appeared before me. Her arrival came without any warning, as if she had always been there. Said the train was only level 3, yet it could defeat her puppet. It had been a long time since she'd been this surprised. The warning device activated. But before any bullets could be fired, several black chains blocked the gun barrel. She said a warning watchtower device. I even had something like that. Lucky her. Seeing the warning device so easily blocked, the corner of my mouth twitched. I told her big sister I had no past grudges or recent conflicts with her. No need to be so hostile. If she wanted something, just take it herself, okay? She said she wasn't taking my things, don't worry. She wasn't here to hurt me, or I would have died long ago. The golden-haired nun walked over and sized me up from head to toe. Asked if I wasn't running this time. I said couldn't run. I helplessly sat on the ground. Teleportation, controlling chains, puppets. This woman was clearly beyond what I could handle right now. Actually, I still had the judgment of gunfire as my last trump card. But she didn't seem intent on killing me. Otherwise, she wouldn't just block me and waste so many words. Moreover, I felt that even with judgment of gunfire, I probably wouldn't win. She said good that I understood. Told me to come back with her. By the way, her name was Shea. I could call her sister priestess if I wanted. She didn't mind. Shea grabbed my hand and pulled me up. Underneath the delicate black and white nun's habit, Her long, slender, white legs stepped in small black boots that clicked on the stone pavement. Back inside the church, Shea took out a blasphemy card, which was only 1/3 complete. She held it out to me. I pointed at myself and asked if it was for me. Then said forget it, such a precious thing, she'd better keep it herself. The more she wanted to give it, the less I wanted it. This blasphemy card was obviously not an ordinary item, or else she wouldn't be holding it carefully with both hands. Seeing my expression, Shea burst out laughing, patted my shoulder, and said, "Don't be afraid. Look at her. She was a nun. How could a kind-hearted nun harm anyone?" Looking at the card forcibly shoved into my hand, I reluctantly accepted it. At worst, I could find a chance to throw it away after escaping. She said, "Don't even think about secretly throwing it away." Then she grabbed the head of a villager puppet and crushed it to pieces with one hand. The head that required level 3 bullets plus blacklight armor-piercing enchantment to penetrate. She crushed it like it was nothing. I swallowed hard and looked at her slender fair palm. Hard to imagine she possessed such strength. I said, "All right, Sister Shea, I definitely wouldn't throw it away." After crushing the head, Shea turned and walked to the prayer altar, picking up a book with a black cover. Asked me what my talent was. I didn't answer. She said, "Don't want to say." Fine. She wasn't the kind of woman who was that curious about others' secrets. Then asked again if I was really not telling. Then said okay, she wouldn't ask. This woman was really strange to the extreme. However, I was already certain of one thing. I wasn't going to die here, and judgment of gunfire probably wouldn't help either. The atmosphere grew silent. Looking up, my eyes met Shea's gaze. Silence. She finally asked if I wasn't curious why she knew about train conductors, about train survival, about talents. I said not curious. Curiosity killed the cat. I wasn't the kind of man who liked to pry into others' secrets. Her expression twisted with frustration. Her smile from before vanished instantly. She teleported in front of me, glaring with dissatisfaction. Then she crushed another puppet's skull with her hand. I swallowed again. Being so close, I could smell a faint, elegant floral fragrance emanating from her. Leaning back, I hurriedly waved my hands and said no need, Sister Shea. Then I started asking questions. Who exactly was she? What place was this? Why was she here? What was that card just now? What did she want to do with me? She said stop and covered my mouth. Asked of all the things I said, which one did I want her to answer first? I quickly shook my head to show I wasn't being deliberately rude. Damn, this woman changed her face faster than flipping a page. She was the one who told me to ask questions, and I just said 1 or 2 extra sentences. Was violence really necessary? A kind-hearted nun. More like a violent woman. Shea let go and casually kicked a villager puppet aside, sitting cross-legged on a bench. Took a deep breath and once again revealed that holy and gentle demeanor, smiling warmly. Said, come to think of it, she was kind of my senior. She arrived in this world 20 years ago to survive on the train. 20 years ago. Just as I'd guessed, I was definitely not the first batch of survivors to arrive in this world. That meant Shea's age should be. She asked if I was thinking something very rude. I said no, not at all. I was just thinking how someone as beautiful and kind-hearted as Sister Shea could appear here. Hearing this, Shea was momentarily distracted. Then she said she was sealed into this world. Normally, no one could enter this platform, because the bastard who sealed her erased this station completely. The higher the train's level, the harder it was to find this place. So her former companions couldn't come to rescue her. And low-level trains had no qualifications to enter this station. But I entered. Why? Was it because of my talent? My gaze shifted slightly. If it weren't for the crossroads of fate, this station's destination should have been that slaughter station. And the appearance of the crossroads of fate was also due to my talent. So Shea was right. All of this really was because of the sublimation talent. Seeing my expression, the corner of Shea's mouth lifted a little. She said she wouldn't force me to tell her my secret, but told me not to casually reveal my talent and abilities to others. After all, there were no good people in this world. Talent was something only a few survivors possessed, and once you had it, it could not be changed. Even the worst talent would make those without talent envious. Of course, if I wanted to tell her, that was fine. Sister wouldn't leak my secrets. And that card too. I absolutely must not let anyone know I had the blasphemy card, not even my closest people. If anyone found out I had it, someone would come for my life. Even if they couldn't kill me, they'd end up like her. Damn, such a dangerous thing. and she still gave it to me. I really wanted to say, why don't you take it back? I had no luck to handle this card. But looking into Shaya's eyes, I knew that was impossible. Since she probably wouldn't kill me, I wasn't as afraid anymore. I might as well be bold and clarify the things I wanted to know. This senior from over 20 years ago must know many things I didn't. I asked if she was among the first batch of survivors. She said no, there were quite a few batches before her. It was just that they rarely saw them. I asked why. Shaya snapped her fingers, and several chains materialized midair, assembling into a train track. She told me to remember that the world we were in was infinite. All stations were different worlds. In her era, there was a powerful guy who wanted to measure how vast the wilderness outside was. So he united all the strong train conductors of that time to gather resources and boosted his train's speed to levels even she could hardly imagine. As if recalling a terrifying number, she clicked her tongue. That guy had a module. Oh, I knew about modules, right? These chains of hers were also a module. I could consider them as magic, sci-fi weapons. They were all similar anyway. This was the best way for train conductors to enhance their power. However, I was only a level 3 conductor now. Obtaining modules wasn't easy, since they only had an extremely small chance of appearing in level 5 plus treasure chests or after train upgrades. She looked at me with a scrutinizing gaze and asked how I shot so accurately earlier. Did I already get a module from the upgrade options and purchase it? Facing her gaze, I could only chuckle sheepishly. I had indeed obtained a module from the upgrade options, but it wasn't related to shooting. It was the early departure privilege. I asked what happened later. Did that person really measure the entire world's size? Shaya remained silent for a moment before shaking her head. No, that guy died. He traveled at that unimaginable speed for a full year, but still didn't encounter any other trains in the wilderness. Suddenly one day, his friend's avatar grayed out, meaning his train was destroyed, and of course he died too. But his death wasn't worthless. After traveling at that speed for a year without finding other trains, they concluded that the wilderness all conductors traveled through wasn't the same for everyone. Returning to my earlier question, survivors appeared every 3 years. Train conductors traveled through their own worlds. Unless the number of people in a sector reached a certain threshold, they wouldn't encounter each other. Of course, this was just the general rule. Shaya somehow produced a lollipop and popped it into her mouth. Asked if I wanted one. I said thanks, I wasn't hungry. She said you're welcome. She wasn't planning to give it to me anyway. That was her last one. She grinned mischievously as she crunched the lollipop, casually removing her nun's hat and standing up. Seemed she didn't intend to continue this topic. She said all right, that was enough questions. She'd answer one last one. Then I'd have to find out the rest myself. My level was too low. Knowing too much would just make me overthink, which wasn't good. Then offered me candy again. Somehow produced another lollipop. Without waiting for my response, she unwrapped it and stuffed it directly into my mouth. It was sweet, but left a slightly bitter aftertaste. The cooling sensation made me inexplicably relaxed, wiping away the lingering exhaustion from my earlier escape. She asked how it was. Tasted good, right? I said I thought she said it was her last one. She said of course she was lying. The more beautiful a woman is, the better she lies. That saying couldn't be more accurate. As I crunched the candy, I thought of my final question. I asked if she knew about Run Company. Told her about what I'd seen in Doomsday Town and Rainvale Villa. She looked confused and said she didn't know this company. But judging from my reaction, I'd seen this organization across multiple stations, right? Told me not to worry too much. There were many similar forces. After all, this train survival game had been going on for who knows how many years. Some people inevitably grew unwilling to continue risking their lives and wanted to stop. It was inevitable that the organizations and forces they established would influence some stations. Then she said that question didn't count, but I didn't get to ask more. Time was almost up. She clapped her hands and told me to come see her train. Tina, who had been missing, came running from behind the church to her side. Tina said, Sister Nun, everything was ready. Oh, it was Inspector. Thank you for helping us, Inspector. Everyone would be grateful. She happily approached me, took my hand, and swung it playfully. Then Shaya dropped the bomb. Tina was also her puppet. Cute, right? I said puppet. She asked what, didn't I believe her? Little Tina was her finest creation. I rubbed my eyes watching Tina's movements, completely indistinguishable from a real little girl's. I poked her cheek. This was a puppet. It was exactly like a real person. Wait, could she have been made from a real person? Images flashed through my mind of Shea capturing little girls and refining them. Could it be that Shea was actually a demoness sealed here by some righteous person, only for me to accidentally break the seal? Better not make her angry. I was so handsome. What if she turned me into a puppet? The church trembled. Shea held Tina's small hand as they walked to the front prayer platform. She said, "System, prepare for departure." Familiar light screens began appearing frantically. This church was the locomotive of Shea's train. She tossed me a black box and said these were a small reward for helping her open this world. Don't worry, nothing dangerous this time. As for what it was, I'd find out when I got back. It would definitely suit my current level. I realized that card really was dangerous. She told me to stop overthinking and let me see what a high-level train looked like. The church continued transforming, eventually assembling into the shape of a locomotive. Black tracks appeared beneath its wheels, and in an instant, they arrived at the station outside the town. I said so fast. Compared to Shea's train, mine moved as slowly as a snail. I asked if the entire church was part of the train space. How many upgrades would it take to reach this level? She said, impressed. She was a level 57 train conductor. This rank was considered quite formidable even in her era. I didn't catch the rest of her words. I was stunned by the number 57. Judging by how each train level upgrade required accessing higher level platforms, could there really be platforms above level 50? Shea answered my unspoken question. That was too simple to even be considered a question. Platforms maxed out at level 12. Buildings, items, treasure chests, all capped at 12. Everything except conductor levels stopped at 12. At least, that was how it was 15 years ago. She wasn't sure about now, but it probably hadn't increased much. She finished configuring the train controls and poked my cheek. Said no matter what happened, never let the blasphemy card leave my possession. It belonged to me. Never ever lose it. I sensed no malice. She was just teasing me. I said, don't worry, Sister Shea. I wouldn't lose the one she gave me. She said, and don't lose my own either. Try to synthesize it soon. Though dangerous, it would bring me great benefits. Tremendous benefits. A hint of melancholy colored her voice. Then she said she was leaving now. She could take my train with her, but staying aboard forever would be dull. Enjoy my time on land until the docking countdown ended. Those houses in town were just disposable train cars she'd made long ago. Recycle them as I pleased. Take whatever I wanted. Before I left, burn this place down for her. She would never return here again. Her gaze seemed to pierce through the church walls, sweeping across the town that had imprisoned her for 15 years. The church doors, no, the train doors, slowly opened. Little Tina took my hand and said, Mr. Inspector, we were leaving. Time for me to disembark. Tina was unbearably cute. Impossibly so for what was merely a puppet. I patted her head, remembering our first meeting. Recalling her fondness for white forest fruit, I retrieved 10 blessed fruits from my storage unit and gave them to her. She immediately started munching on one. The aroma caught Shea's attention as she worked nearby. Noticing the fruit in Tina's hand, she paused thoughtfully. Said I was truly blessed by fortune. No wonder I found that 1/3 fragment. And why did it carry a blessing aura? How peculiar. That's storage unit ability. Would such a rare carriage really appear on a mere level 3 train? Had 15 years of sealing made her obsolete? Were conductors this impressive now? Just what was my talent? How fascinating. Unaware of Shea's suppressed curiosity, I carried the box outside, bidding final farewell to Tina. Only upon exiting did I see the full majesty of Shea's level 57 train, understanding why this station had dual tracks. Black dominated its frame, accented by pure white lines and angelic motifs. Each of its 18 uniquely designed carriages exuded luxury and sophistication. From outside, one could never imagine its interior contained a space as vast as a cathedral. I wondered about spatial compression. Could my train achieve that someday? I wasn't joking. I felt genuine envy. Turning back to my own ramshackle 2-carriage train, I said east or west, home is best. Then told myself don't worry, we'd surpass hers in size and grandeur. While psyching myself up, I found a friend request from Shea upon reboarding. I really wanted to decline. Something told me getting involved with this woman meant trouble. Then a forcibly transmitted message flashed across my display. You wouldn't dare refuse, would you? accompanied by a chibi Shea emoji grinning mischievously. I said of course not. Having Sister Shea as a friend was an honor. Faced with choosing between becoming a puppet or staying alive, I unhesitatingly picked survival. Still, I sneakily edited her contact name to Golden Retriever. My petty amusement backfired instantly. She said good boy, now she could track me anywhere. Learn from this. Be cautious accepting random friend requests. I added another prefix. Evil Woman Golden Retriever. The train's roaring engines shook Mystic Bell Town. The ground trembled. After 15 years of stagnation, the train yearned to move. Fireworks exploded across the sky. Inside, Shea bit into a lollipop that had materialized from nowhere. Said finally, time to leave. Countless chains materialized ahead, laying tracks through distorted space. Night Angel, departing. Her triumphant announcement echoed through speakers. The angelic patterns on the black train seemed to come alive. Then it vanished into the void. Silence reclaimed Mystic Bell Town. I said dynamic train skins. That was a thing. Damn cool. I glanced back at my own train. Better not dwell on it. I examined the box Shea had given me. Neither heavy nor light, just an ordinary gift box. The system identified it as a level 9 safety box. Absolute security. Impervious to external damage, immune to forced entry. Items stored within were completely safe. Had to be placed in a permanent location. Once set, only the placer could relocate it. Current status was awaiting binding before opening. Level 9. Holy shit. I'd assumed it was ordinary. Never expected such generosity. Even empty, the box itself was invaluable. I hastily changed her contact name from Old Hag to Beautiful Kind-Hearted Lady. I pressed my thumb against the box's center. Binding successful. Could be opened. The contents were a flame stone, 10 kilos of gold, 10 kilos of mithril, and 3 healing lollipops. So these were materials for upgrading to level 4 and candy. The safety box functioned similarly to storage units, categorizing items by type rather than quantity. I wasn't particularly disappointed by the contents. The flamestone was an essential item for upgrading my train to level 4, something I hadn't yet found a way to obtain. Without my sublimation talent, this would have been incredibly valuable. Shea had no way of knowing about my special ability, so her choice of gifts made perfect sense. But the candy in the last slot. Shea's healing lollipops, level 8. Upon consumption, formed a protective membrane that blocked external damage while continuously restoring stamina and healing wounds. The note said it was the masterpiece of a certain dark nun. As long as I wasn't dead, eating this would ensure survival. Then a message from my contact, Evil Woman Golden Retriever. She asked if I'd opened it yet. How did I like it? Big Sister treated me well, didn't she? Levels 3 to 4 were a small threshold. Only after crossing it could I truly be considered past the beginner stage. For newcomers like me, obtaining flamestones was normally very difficult. They only appeared with minimal probability after the 10th station. Even with the best luck, reaching Mystic Bell Town should be around my 8th station at level 3. This gift saved me several stations worth of trouble. As for those 3 candies, eat them when injured, don't snack on them casually. Be properly grateful in my heart. Find the remaining items myself, level up quickly, stay alive. And when I'd collected that card completely, remember to tell her. Before I could change the contact name back, her message arrived. Reading the lengthy text, I felt complex emotions that condensed into a single phrase. Thank you, though I don't actually need it. I kept the latter thought to myself. My gratitude was genuine. While Shea undoubtedly had her own motives for giving me that 1/3 of the blasphemy card, I'd also learned much from her. Moreover, even if she hadn't given it to me, wouldn't I have sought it out myself? Impossible. If I encountered another fragment, I would undoubtedly find a way to obtain it. The blasphemy card. What would happen if it were truly completed? Meanwhile, the Night Angel traveled through the wilderness. Shea stood before the prayer platform, eating a blessed white forest fruit she'd snatched from Tina's hands, gazing at the distant horizon. Said this world remained utterly unchanged. How boring. A message notification sounded. She was back. Asked if the other party wasn't surprised. The reply said not particularly. This world was infinite, and within infinity, there must exist an anomaly that would free her from the seal. Though 15 years was faster than expected. So the one who opened the world was the other 1/3. Shea corrected, now it was 2/3. The other party was silent. Shea said what? Find it strange. She was sealed for 15 years because of that card, proving it wasn't meant for her. Yet the person who freed her obtained in mere days what she nearly died trying to get. Didn't I think he was more deserving of it? The other party said such was fate. In Infinity, such possibilities existed. Not strange at all. Asked what she'd do next. Shaya's eyes turned cold as she typed the line. An eye for an eye. The other party remained silent for a long time. Shaya's emotions gradually stabilized, and she suddenly recalled my recent question. Asked what this run company was. How dare they extend their reach to stations below level 4? Where were the Heavenly Organization's inspectors? Why hadn't they acted? The other party was silent again. Shaya asked if they were still there. Dead. Why so quiet? The reply said, just an insignificant courier company. Nothing to worry about. As for the Heavenly Organization, those pitiful do-gooders had already disappeared. Back on my train, the departure countdown showed 22 minutes remaining. Through my efforts in dismantling the train carriage turned houses in the town, I'd acquired a considerable amount of resources. Most carriages were damaged, yielding at most 1/10 of their original construction materials during recycling. Moreover, dismantling required manual labor. The only silver lining was that Shaya seemed to have anticipated this. The safety box she'd given me could store entire carriages. Compared to storage units, this level 9 safety box had much looser capacity standards, though carriages couldn't be stacked in the same slot. Otherwise, I would have taken every carriage house in town. Another minor regret. The processing station required time for recycling. Only 9 carriages had been processed in nearly 4 hours. With the departure countdown nearing its end, the remaining carriages in town would have to be abandoned. After organizing my materials and storage, I took stock of my current resources. 645 kilos of wood, 770 of metal, 505 mechanical parts, 180 kilos of glass, 35 of rubber, 60 of fiber, 10 kilos of gold, 10 of mithril, and 1 flamestone. These resources were sufficient to upgrade my train to level 4. Though with my sublimation talent, I had no intention of doing so through normal means. The sound of treads on ground roused me from my lounging position. Wall-E, whom I'd nearly forgotten, came wobbling toward me. I told the little guy I almost forgot about him. Though there shouldn't be any treasure chests at this station. Shaya created this town herself. Why would she leave any chests? After tapping Wall-E's metal head a few times, I noticed the robot's arm clutching a metal lump. I took the metal cube and examined it, finding nothing remarkable. Didn't look like ordinary iron. Curiosity overcoming laziness, I returned to my train and used the control system to appraise the mysterious object. Level 4 treasure chest. Could be opened. Huh. A treasure chest. Wait, wasn't everything here created by Shaya? Did she leave this here intentionally? But that didn't make sense. She told me to burn this place. I ran my fingers over the chest's surface but didn't contemplate further. If she didn't want it and never mentioned it, there was no reason not to open it. A level 4 chest meant that after one sublimation, it could reach level 5. But the same question remained. Could I actually sublimate a level 4 chest? Currently, my maximum stamina and mental energy were both 210 points. Sublimating a level 3 chest to level 4 required 55 points. Would level 4 to 5 require several times that? I absently took a bite of white forest fruit when I suddenly realized something odd. Strange, why did I keep feeling like I couldn't reach level 5? This wasn't the first time I'd felt this way. Previously, I might have attributed it to insufficient stamina and mental energy. But sublimating a level 3 chest to level 4 only required 55 points. Now that Shaya had told me treasure chests could go up to level 12, if I couldn't sublimate a level 4 chest now, wouldn't the required points become astronomical later? This didn't make sense. Should I try? My heartbeat accelerated. How would I know if I didn't try? Feelings were just feelings. Humans excelled at self-deception. Having made my decision, I didn't act immediately. I had a promise to fulfill first. Purchasing a barrel of diesel from the trading platform with some biscuits, I'd earlier connected several parts of the town using wood planks. The scent of diesel mixed with the cold air. Final 10 minutes of the countdown. Standing at the train's entrance, I pulled out the windproof lighter. Click. Whoosh. Flames raced along the wooden path into town. The snowy breeze fanned the fire, and within moments, starting from the simple station platform, Mystic Bell Town was engulfed in flames. Before the train, The distorted void signaling departure appeared. At the control panel, I pressed the start button. Privilege activated. Early departure. In an instant, the world changed. I instinctively shielded my eyes as the sudden temperature surge reminded me the wilderness's tropical climate persisted. After all this time, the temperature hadn't dropped at all. Back in the climate-controlled carriage, the temperature returned to comfortable levels. I placed the safety box in a corner. 3 slots now contained carriages from Mystic Bell Town, while the remaining slot was reserved for the blasphemy card. The box's original contents had been moved to storage. Another station completed. The broadcast didn't say anything this time. I collapsed onto my bed, held the level 4 chest aloft, and chuckled inexplicably. Who'd have thought my first level 4 chest obtained without sublimation wouldn't be this station's greatest reward? If others knew, they'd probably die of envy. At this station, I'd learned much about this world. Not extensive, but enough to avoid flying blind in future situations. And the blasphemy card. Shea never explained what the card truly was, but I could guess her ceiling in Mystic Bell Town was likely connected to it. The more I learned, the more questions arose. I felt tired. Truthfully, from my initial decision to flee until now. Even after Shea showed kindness, an underlying tension never left me. Only upon returning to my train did that tension finally dissipate. Body and mind relaxing simultaneously. I wanted to be like a salted fish, unconcerned about the next station, content to laze about. Unfortunately, impossible. Sublimation must continue. Stations wouldn't wait for me. Tossing the level 4 chest in my hand, I stared at it. Despite the inexplicable feeling telling me sublimation would fail, I wanted to try. Stamina at 89, mental energy at 110. Stamina wasn't full, but that didn't matter. I placed one of Shea's healing lollipops in my mouth. Sweet fragrance filled my nostrils as my stamina rapidly recovered. From 89 to 100 in just 1 second. At minimum, it restored 10 stamina per second. Wasting no time, I placed my hand on the level 4 chest. Sublimation. Instantly, stamina and mental energy drained like floodgates opening. The lollipop's power continuously replenished them, but it was like trying to extinguish a burning cart with a cup of water. It was as if the sublimation talent was never meant to reach level 5. In that moment, I finally understood my persistent feeling. It wasn't insufficient stamina or mental energy. Beyond level 4, whether chests, structures, or anything else, all resisted sublimation. Should I give up then? I could still stop safely now. Otherwise, my stamina and mental energy might be completely drained. But conversely, if I gave up, wouldn't my sublimation talent plateau at level 4? Shea said talents, once obtained, could never be changed. If I stopped now, sublimation would forever be stuck at this threshold. I refused to accept that. Can't be changed. I smiled, my other hand pressed to my chest where my heart beat. Then I'll have to try. I'll sublimate my sublimation talent itself. This mad act seemed to trigger something. Countless blinding red screens appeared. From outside, my entire train was now shrouded in red light. Every person in the entire train world felt an indescribable fear at that moment. Meanwhile, the instigator of it all lay unconscious amidst the red screens. Then consciousness started to return. I heard a noise. The system was trying to activate the crossroads of fate. Approaching 6th station. The module triggered, asking me to choose between 2 stations. But the station names were showing as errors. The system said an error occurred and tried correcting. Correction failed. The crossroads of fate started activating anyway, telling me to choose within 5 seconds or the station would be randomly selected. I couldn't wake up. The selection countdown started. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Timeout. The module was randomly selecting a station. It selected Hope Valley, a level 4 slaughter station. The train accelerated. The environment transformed. Passing through the void, the wilderness outside became forest. Then the departure countdown showed infinity. Error. Clearing interference. Revision complete. Confirmed. Then the system said it was performing a forced revision, eliminating the interferer. Elimination successful. The departure countdown reset to 9 hours, 59 minutes, and 59 seconds. Current station was extremely dangerous. Be careful. Survive. Special note said completing this station would yield special rewards. Survive until departure. In the quiet train, my consciousness gradually returned.